Hey guys, welcome to a another live show, another live she knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing. The internet starts tripping. Give me a second. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Just all right, guys. Hopefully it's stable enough now. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. This is a deadline day stream of sorts. It's gone down again. So annoying. I swear my internet never really goes down until I'm about to start talking to you guys, which is so annoying. Actually, might unplug and replug in. Give me 2 seconds. I know you guys are like, what the fuck is going on? I need to try to unplug the internet and start again. So give me 2 seconds. I don't know if it's any better. I really don't. But we'll try. Anyways, welcome to Deadline Day stream. I'm just going to keep talking and just assume that things are going fine. Because, yeah, otherwise I'm just going to be angry all the entire stream. But make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys so much for those of you guys who are sticking around despite the technical issues. You guys know the deal. Shit goes wrong around here. But yeah, it's deadline day. I think most of us are kind of expecting a quiet deadline day for Arsenal, but I think the good thing is that we're all kind of in this on the same page about, we've pretty much we've had a really, really good window. It may not have been perfect. That doesn't mean that we've gotten absolutely everything that our heart desired, but I don't feel like anybody feels like we need to get something, like right this moment, which is a testament to Berta and the work that he did throughout this window, because this is probably the first time in years that I've been really like relaxed when we're, on deadline day. To be honest, usually it's like, oh my gosh, anything coming out? We don't have to hear Hagen pretending like something is gonna fucking happen today when we all know nothing is. So, yeah, and I don't know if we got the Ornstein, like, nothing expected to come in tweet or anything like that. I didn't see anything, but I think the expectation is that we're done, which, like I said, is probably okay. Um, all my trust is now in Berta. I have no hope anywhere else. There are no issues with the window at this point. We extended Gabby, have our striker real depth. Let Arteta keep playing Martinelli. He'll sack himself. I'm calm. Martinelli at the club takes this window from a 9 to a 7.5. That's how bad it is, to be honest. It's so much better than Edu. I mean, it's like it's like night and day. I don't really know why Edu performed in Windows the way that he did, but ultimately I've never felt this calm, like at all since for a long time, So yeah, I think we have a really, really good team and a team that's good enough to win something. I had the transfer market thing up, and I think I'll pull it back up just so we could kind of see visually what we have going on. But I think yesterday definitely probably put a little bit of a damper on things. I think after the Leeds game and after getting the Hincapie, news, and also, signing Eze, it did feel like we're quote unquote floating. And then now it feels a little bit different. I think it's just for me personally. Actually, let me speak for myself, because I don't know how you guys are feeling, and I don't want to put emotions to you guys, because you guys may feel totally different than me, and you're more than welcome to, kind of put your raw and true feelings in the chat. But yeah, I think there's just a little bit of it was just a little bit of a downer. Just a little bit of a downer. I can see the internet is going down again, which is so annoying. But yeah, it's just a downer. And the window that, Liverpool is having is unprecedented. When we talk about an unprecedented window, Liverpool are quite literally having an unprecedented window. And looking at the players that they've brought in, I do think that they've pretty much solved all of their issues. And I think we've solved most of ours. I think now the biggest maybe difference between Arsenal and Liverpool is maybe the way both teams are coached. And so that's where the Arteta of it all really does come in. I see that the internet is going up and down, but at this point, there's really nothing I can do. I'm just going to try to get through it as well as I can, because I see it says it's unstable. Nothing I really can do about it now. Yeah. So let's read some of your comments if I can. They need more defensive depth. I actually think, I don't think Joe Gomez left. You guys can correct me if he did, but if Joe Gomez doesn't leave, they brought in that Leone. They're bringing in, Mark Gahey is there. I think they have more than enough depth. And if Slot can find internal solutions, like putting Soboslai at right back and all of a sudden he's a fucking world beater, then I think they're probably fine. Liverpool succeeded at what United tried to do, remaking the team in one window. The worst part is that we stay with this bad feeling for 2 weeks now. Gahey is vital for Liverpool. Gomez and Konate are injury prone. We have a title winning team, but I'm losing faith in the manager. He just still sets us up like we're a small underdog team. Yeah, I think there's just an element of like a reality that going into the Liverpool game, I was probably more confident than I've ever been going into a game against Liverpool at Anfield. And I felt like my balloon was just pricked, just a little bit, not because of the result, but because of the performance and mostly the performance of the manager, if I'm honest. So, yeah, I still think that this window with Zubimendi, with Eze, with Gyökeres, with Madueke, with Mascara, Norgard, Kepa, and Hincapie is a really good window. It doesn't have anything to do with the players that we brought in. It's about how they're being utilized. You know, let's see. Give me one more Semenyo or Lookman. Let's see. Hopefully Arteta has the self-awareness to walk if he doesn't win us a major trophy this season. You can take the boy out of Everton, but you can't take the Everton out of the Mikel mentality. We just don't attack properly, can't access central spaces, no conviction in tight spaces or one-on-one defending, or one-on-one versus a defender. It is bigger than individuals. Arteta will play like this no matter what. Yeah, we'll talk about the outgoings in a second, but I can tell that yesterday's result performance is heavy on the mind right now. So we'll definitely, talk about that first. But yeah, I just feel like, again, yesterday there was a lot of, well, we had our players missing. How could you expect us to do anything when Saka wasn't there and Odegaard wasn't fully fit and Saliba went down? How could you expect? How could you expect? And I'm just like, it's not that I necessarily expect us to beat Liverpool at Anfield. I understand that, Pep won many a Premier League without having to go to Anfield and win. But I do expect a team with 160 million pounds worth of new attacking signings to muster a chance on goal, a clear-cut chance on goal in a 90-minute game. I actually expect Arsenal, no matter what's going on, to muster at least one clear-cut chance on goal at any place that we go at this stage. I don't care if it's Camp Nou. I don't care if it's the Bernabeu, which we've been to before. I don't care if it's San Siro. I don't care, if it's Anfield or the Etihad. Arsenal is not a top side if they cannot create clear-cut chances. And when I mean clear-cut chances, I'm not saying, beat them down, but I'm saying we didn't even create one clear-cut chance yesterday. We were not dangerous in an attacking sense at all, which is a pattern in almost every single big away game that we've had under Mikel outside of one. And the outlier is last season at the Bernabeu, where we were good defensively and we were also good in attack. But outside of that, we have seen the same performance no matter who's available, no matter how much we've spent, no matter what time, what day, what the weather is. We have these very toothless and unconvincing performances away from home. And when Bournemouth can go to that Anfield and get 2 goals and create chances, I expect Arsenal to be able to, but we're still hearing people say things like, we're still seeing people say things like, oh yeah, well, we didn't have Saka and we didn't have Odegaard, so, oh well, no. We need to I've never seen a fan base be so okay with things that are just unnatural. If we were looking at another team that was dealing with the same issues as us, our fans, especially like the tactical side of our fan base, would do everything in their power to bring that out as a reason why you can't win things. But because it's Arsenal, all of a sudden it's like, it's okay and it makes sense. It just doesn't make sense that we shouldn't have been able to create a clear-cut chance for, in 90 minutes. And even if you're trying to, even if you're trying to, say that the Eze chance was clear cut, if you think that's a clear cut chance, then fair. But we created 0.03 XG in 90 minutes in open play. it just wasn't, it wasn't anything, it wasn't really a clear-cut chance. We know what a clear-cut chance looks like, and it just wasn't. Um, let's see, Mikel Arteta better wake up quick because Liverpool might win 30 games this season. They have a real chance of going unbeaten. I really don't see, if we can't beat them and Man City are looking the way that they're looking, I don't see them losing any games. So, God forbid, but I can see it. These problems are because of Martinelli on the left-hand side. I think Eze will transform our attack. He is very creative. Hopefully, Mikel let him roam a lot. Mikel is very cowardly. He better wake up. Let's see. Liverpool was there for the taking. 10-man Newcastle was up 2-0 against Liverpool before losing 3 goals. And I think that's the thing. It's like, yeah, but Eze was clean through on goal. Oh, but other teams lost. I mean, Newcastle and Bournemouth both lost to Liverpool, but we also lost. So we don't get a cookie or a gold star because we lost to them, but the way that we lost was not as big or whatever. Newcastle fans were proud of the performance that they put up against Liverpool. They were proud of that performance because in the end of the day, they were down to 10 men and they fought back and they lost to, a last minute winner. Bournemouth are a mid-table side, basically. Bournemouth are a mid-table side that went away to Anfield and had tons of chances and scored 2 goals. So, yeah, is 1-0 actually a 1-0 loss with no chances on goal and a very unconvincing attacking performance better than what they did? Probably not. You know? I know the internet is really, like, inconsistent right now, guys. I'm just trying to get through it. I really don't understand what's going on today. It's really bad today. Sorry. Um, every 2 seconds, it's going all the way down, and I'm not sure why. Um, let's see. Why did Eze start the game? Why didn't Eze start the game? Um, honestly, I don't understand why he didn't start. I see people saying he just wasn't ready. He doesn't understand our press, but I didn't really see anything in the game that justified, like, Martinelli starting. What did his press do? Like, they bypassed our press quite a few times. So, um, everything that we do is about stopping the other team from being successful, but the trade-off is always so great. It's always massive, it's always stop them at the cost of us being able to create any chances whatsoever, and I just don't see that as a good trade-off. And I also don't believe that every single time that, like, if you were to be attacking, that necessarily means that you're going to lose 5-0, which I feel like some Arsenal fans try to fearmonger. Well, if we start to open up and play more attacking, you know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like Emery again. It's gonna be like the end of Wenger again. It's gonna be like before. And I'm like, well, at least I was enjoying watching us play at times. Like, if Arteta played like this against the bigger teams, but then when we played against the small teams, we opened up and played fun football and beat them up, then I would be more happy. But we're going to play against Nottingham Forest in a couple of weeks, and I guarantee that will be pretty much exactly the same. We're going to play rigid attacking football based upon sitting in a shape and getting set pieces. So I feel like at some stage people need to wake up and realize that, if we go into every single big game, it's big away games, big games, and this is how we set up, we're never going to be successful because big teams are not scared. They're just not, because it's not even just the big 6 games. We do this in Europe, as well, which is why we go to the Allianz Arena and lose 1-0 and can't remember a single attack that we had. That's why that we go away to Porto and we look like shit and lose that game. That's why, we go to, Paris Saint-Germain and we don't really test them the way that we should. We have a couple of decent opportunities, but it's really light work. At the end of the day, no, you don't win win competitions like this. You don't win trophies like this. You have to be brave. You have to back yourself, and we don't back ourselves. Let's see. UK, it's a clear cut that Eze should have started on the low open play, and Gyökeres left performance with no creativity be midfield playing. I think you're trying to say that Eze's was a clear cut opportunity, and it says and on the low open play. And on the low open play, Gyökeres left performance. We had no creativity be midfield playing. Well, let's just say for the sake of argument that Eze's was a clear-cut opportunity. What big team only creates one clear-cut opportunity in 90 minutes? I get that this is what happens. Is this exactly what happened when we played against Bournemouth away from home and Arteta blamed Martinelli for the one chance that he missed? I'm sorry, but if you only have one chance, it's really difficult to put it in the back of the net. You only have one chance. You need to have multiple chances so that, you have a good chance of actually scoring one of them. So if we're putting a lot of pressure on our players to when they get that one chance to put in the back of the net, we're leaving ourselves open to the margins not going our way, which is what happens to us all the time in these big games. We're always squinting to see the one chance that somebody have put away, when in reality we probably should have had 3 or 4 or 5 clear-cut opportunities, So, and Gyökeres is not getting fed, and Arteta left 3 or 4 creative players on the bench to justify putting Marino and Martinelli in for defensive reasons. So ultimately, from my perspective, it's just how many games are we going to go by where we only can see one clear-cut chance and we're mad because one player didn't score that one chance? Why don't we have more clear-cut chances? The fact that the only clear-cut chance came in when Eze was in, and it was an individual effort. That was an individual thing where the ball bounced around and then Eze got into the box. It wasn't anything that we created at all. That was lucky almost because of the way that it ricocheted into his path. So it wasn't even a clear-cut opportunity that was created from our own football. When will we get to the point where we question whether or not this manager is just pragmatic? I was having a conversation with SV today on Twitter, and he was saying that Arteta is just a pragmatic manager by nature. And I think he's probably correct about that, because now that we've had 5 seasons under Mikel, and he's only had 1.5 seasons where we've had a good attack, a good fluid, high scoring attack that is not heavily reliant upon set pieces. I think it's becoming more and more clear that he's a very pragmatic person, and 22-23 was a fluke because he hasn't ever tried to replicate it at all. He actually tore it apart the season after we played that way. And so he's pragmatic. And not only is that pretty much anti-Arsenal, so it's difficult to swallow in itself, but we're also not winning anything. So what is this pragmatism getting us? He has to find the balance between good defensive principles and a strong defensive unit, which he already has, and taking the handbrake off at some stage. Let's see. Dauman should cover for Gyökeres. O'Malley says, my biggest problem is when we go down in these big games, all of a sudden we learn how to attack. It's clearly instruction. That 4-1 Man City game really caused Arteta PTSD. I really don't like that our manager is so heavily connected to Man City that, for a long time, our existence was, for 2 or 3 seasons, our existence was about beating Man City. If we could finally beat Man City, it'll change everything. And now we've beaten Man City twice. If you count the Community Shield, we beat them 3 times and we've still not won anything. His obsession with Man City and Pep and them being so important to us. I wish we had a manager that didn't give a fuck, that didn't care about City and Pep, so we could just rid ourselves of whatever this is, because it's damaging us. It's damaging. And obviously there's nuance to everything. I'm not saying throw away our defensive structure to get open and tight football. which is what people are trying to say is like, oh, you just want to be open and open at the back. I'm just saying that if there's other teams that can be solid defensively and also attack well, and oh, by maybe even just be a little bit entertaining because it'd be fun to actually like watch our team play good football, why can't we? Why can't he find that? And there's just something about that Man City game that traumatized this man to the point where he is so stuck on off the ball structure, rigid defense, clean sheet, defend, 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 that we quite literally play some of the worst attacking football that I've seen in the Premier League. It is so hard to watch, and it's so not the Arsenal way. And if you're going to throw away the Arsenal way, then you need to be winning trophies, and you're not winning trophies. He needs to win something this season because I just don't see how we keep going with this. I don't see how we keep going with this. I really don't. And I can already see that because of his coaching and because of the way that we just are not great at attack, that the narrative is going to be around, oh, well, we just didn't buy the right attackers. You need to give him more money. Oh, he just didn't get his left winger. If we just buy Semenyo, there are worse teams with worse groups of attackers that play better attacking football than us. There's no excuse. I want us to be to a position where we get into these good positions, and if the players are actually missing chances and they had 4 or 5 chances and they didn't score, that we can criticize. But they're not even getting chances. They're not, so how can we blame the players consistently when the system that we play is so anti attack? Like, it's just not about attack at all. Um, let's see. That was the easiest game Liverpool played this season, to be honest. Didn't give them anything to worry about, which is a concern. It was probably the most difficult game that they had attacking wise, because I'll be honest that in the grand scheme of things, we're getting the most shit about being cagey, but they were also very cagey. There was a lot of respect in that game, and they weren't really going for it, and we weren't really going for it. Slot decided to go for it before Arteta with the Curtis Jones, change, and Arteta was too late to respond. But both teams were incredibly cagey, and the difference between the two teams was really a wonder goal from a free kick. But if we want to talk about nullification, we were just as nullified as they were because Wirtz, Gakpo, Ekitike, and Salah did fuck all. Our defense was just as stout as theirs was in terms of being able to stop the other team from doing anything. But I would say that maybe on the balance of things, we seemed less interested in doing the attack. They seemed more interested in it, but our attack was stopping them, if that makes sense. But in terms of their attackers, that was probably the most difficult game that they had because they weren't really getting any joy. But Van Dijk and Konate had an easier time than our defense, mostly because our attack, we weren't even trying to attack. We weren't even interested in attacking until the 70th minute when Arteta started making changes. That's when he had decided that we're going to start to try to attack now. Arteta must win something this season, if not by lies. That was the hardest, just as Kirkez and Konate. No, it wasn't. No, they didn't have to work as hard against us. Watch the game. Outside of Kirkez and Madueke, that was probably the easiest day out that Konate and Virgil van Dijk had, and Szoboszlai could have slept back there and marked Martinelli. It wasn't. The hardest game that they had from a defensive standpoint was probably Newcastle, because Newcastle actually tried to attack. So we can stop lying. We were shit from an attacking standpoint. Defensively, we were brilliant because they actually were trying to attack and we were stopping them. Let's see. The analysis isn't mainly about the Liverpool game. It's the sum of all the big games we play away. It's disgusting. We've scored 1 goal away from home in semis under Mikel since he won the FA Cup. It's dark. Yeah, in semis. Yeah, it's dark. It's dark. I don't know how people watch our games and think, "Yeah, that's fine." It's just not. The away games, and especially because you know that we're going to be talking about struggling to score and rigid and over reliance on set pieces when we play against the small teams, because nothing is attacking a little bit against Bilbao and Manchester United, but really outside of that, you do see the same themes of a lot of passing, overpassing, overplaying, midfielders not breaking lines when they need to, no confidence in the pockets, releasing the ball too late, not being able to beat your man, the center forward creating chances for fullbacks and DMs. You're seeing those same themes again, and it's not good. Liverpool are comfortable in both scenarios, basketball games and KG games. They have the setup and comfortable and highly controlled games. And I would also say Liverpool can win in any scenario. Like, you're pretty much, it's a good chance that Arsenal will not win the game. And that's the difference between them winning and us winning. We still don't have that inevitability. We really don't. We haven't had the inevitability since the 23-24 season, where, you know, we could get to the 97th minute and you just knew we were going to force the ball into the back of the net, because we did that a couple of times in that season as well. But the inevitability, the ability to put a lot of pressure on teams, the ability to find a special goal from somewhere, that's gone. That's gone, and I don't know if it's gonna come back. So I know the internet's going in and out. I'm trying as hard as I can, guys. I'm sorry. Uh, let's see. Let's see. The good thing is he can't hide now. We had depth, no excuses. Stat for you, Josh. Just went 10 and a half hours of semifinal football without a single goal from Pepe penalty versus Villarreal away. Wasn't even a penalty through to. It's just dark. I really don't know how, like, people, it's not even just about enjoying the football, because there are styles of football that aren't necessarily like beautiful on the eye, but are so much more effective in the final third. I just want us to be effective in open play, not just on set pieces. Um, because essentially now we found out that if Saka is out, the set pieces are done as well, so yeah, that's really bad. But yeah. Latest on deadline day, is any staying? I do think that there's been reports that Zinchenko is going to end up staying. He's not leaving. Fabio Vieira is gone. Um, he's on a loan at Hamburg. Lokonga went on a permanent deal to Hamburg as well for about, I think I saw 2 million, but it could have been more. And Reece Nelson went on a loan to Brentford. So that's kind of where we are with the outgoings. Let's see. I've never seen the internet like this. It's actually crazier than ever. Here's what I'm going to do, guys, because the internet is so bad right now. The only other thing that I haven't tried is just restart my computer, which will probably take about maybe 2 minutes max, and see if that helps, because I've already unplugged the cable to my computer and that hasn't stopped it. This is the worst it's ever been, to be honest. It goes out every probably 2 minutes. So give me a second. I hope you guys stay, but if you guys don't, I understand you guys have things to do, but I'm just going to pop out, restart my computer, and come back. The live will stay live, but I need to try to figure out a way to fix the internet, because this is untenable. There's no way I can continue on like this. So yeah. Let's see. So give me 2 seconds. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. If this doesn't work, there's nothing I can do at the minute. I unplugged it. I started my computer over. If not, it's not my day. And that's fair. Some days it's just not your day. Thank you for everybody who's still here. I do really appreciate it. But yeah. But I remember Reese's last minute goal, man, take me back. That's what Valeria is saying. Let's see, just bottling the stream like Arteta. Slowing down a little bit. So I wonder if this, oh, it's already going down again. I knew it. It's just not going to work out for me today for some reason. Oh, Lord, help me. Help me, help me. I'm just going to keep going and hopefully we can get something out of this. Just following the stream like Arteta. For me, the manager is a bottler as much as the players that we had before this transfer window. You can't sell the players, so the manager pays the bill for everyone, himself included. Yeah, I mean, Arteta is just, he needs to win something, I feel like anything really. I think what would have helped him out early on is with this team win something, a small cup or anything, because it just feels like the longer it goes on and the fact that they're so desperate for it to be the Premier League that it's putting more and more pressure. I know that people are like, yeah, well, if you want to care about cup or FA Cup, it wouldn't change anything. And I'm like, the grand scheme, it wouldn't change anything that you still need to win a Premier League, because guess what? Like the expectation is going to be the case, like, you know what I mean? It's always going to be the case that Arsenal need to win the Premier League. So nothing is going to change. But from the player's perspective and Arteta, it would at least be proof of concept that we're going in the right direction, that we can get it over the line. And, in life, if you can, you know, kind of achieve a smaller goal, you can use that experience to achieve a bigger goal. And I think them putting so much pressure on it being the Premier League, it has to be the Premier League, it has to be the Premier League, is putting a lot more pressure. And then also, you didn't win it when you had the best possible opportunity. I hate to say this, but she knows Arsenal and she is Arsenal tonight. Everything gets bottled. um, I think that, it's really sad. And like, I don't say this on the timeline because I feel like obviously I'll get absolutely massacred. But I remember around the time where, you know, I was really bitching about how bad we were in cup competitions, which we still are. But this is about in the 22-23 season where we went out of domestic cups early and we went out of Europa League. And they were like, yeah, but we're focusing on the league. And I'm like, yeah, but just focusing on the league doesn't mean that you should be so bad in the cups as well. Yeah, but we don't have the depth. Okay, well, no other team has the depth either outside of Man City, but they still get further in the competitions. And it's the way that we go out, not that we're going out, it's the way, right? And so the narrative back then was, well, we're building and we're still new and, we're just building for Man City to fall off. And then once Man City falls off, then we'll win and we'll get Isak, right? Now, Man City fell off, right? We didn't win. Slot came in there first season with an imperfect side. Remember, he didn't get any signings, won the league when City fell off, and guess who signed Isak? Not us. Unfortunately for Arsenal, we're in a position now where a team that had been dominating has fallen away a little bit. I'm not saying City are done, but they've fallen away only for a team that had been pretty much asleep during that time, the last couple. And we haven't won anything. So I don't know what I'm meant to do with that. Just win some shit. Just fucking win some shit. I don't know what to tell you. Win a Premier League, win a FA Cup, win a Carabao. I don't care. Just start winning stuff because right now it's all this overly planning and, all that kind of stuff. What happened? Didn't anyone catch that? It's going to keep going out, guys. I'm just going to keep talking and just hopefully, it'll clean up. But all this over planning and pretending like we know more than other teams about winning and not just doing the things that you're supposed to, like buy good attackers and play good attacking football and score more than the other team, like we've overthought it and the window for winning was there and we didn't win anything. Now Liverpool have spent 500 million after beating us to the title last season and they built a super team. So now what? Now what do we do? We've had an unprecedented window and it still doesn't feel like we're the favorites right now, so it's just weird, man. It's just weird. But again, back then when I was like, just win something, like, because nothing is guaranteed. Even when City fall off, we don't know who will be good at that stage. And people are like, nobody else will be good. Nobody else will be able to rebuild. Klopp will be done. And Chelsea are in the mud and da-da-da, only for exactly what people were saying would happen has happened. And so the league looks tough. It's not impossible to win the league from here. But I just think we need to focus on just winning whatever's in front of us and not just only focus on the league and at least play some good football. So even if we're not winning, we're not depressed because the style that we play right now is very depressing and hard to watch. I can't lie. Yeah. Yet football doesn't stay still. At the end of the season, when Arteta fails again, which I predict he will, Berta will tell the board, I did what I could. Time to find a new gaffer to get results. It makes me think, why did we even try so hard for Gyökeres when we clearly don't know how to use him? The Gyökeres thing is sad because Gyökeres has never probably been in a situation where he's not getting shots and not getting chances. And so he's going to be frustrated. But at the end of Aubameyang, I mean, in Arteta's first season, not his first full season, but the half season, Aubameyang did score 20 goals, but half of that season was with Emery. As time went on, Aubameyang became more and more frustrated because Arteta put him on the wing. We started playing a more rigid style. We started to see the goals dry up. It was more about defending and playing off the ball, and those things have helped us, but they've also always had an element of hindering or capping what we can do going forward, no matter what attackers we have, whether that's Aubameyang and Lacazette, or whether that's, Kai Havertz and Saka, or Gyökeres and Saka. Every attacker, it always seems like they're capped at some stage, or at some point. And Gyökeres is going to get frustrated. He didn't come to Arsenal to create chances for Declan Rice and Timber. He came to score goals. So until Gyökeres gets to the stage where he's getting chances and he's fluffing his lines and not putting the ball in the back of the net, to me, it's a coaching problem. I shouldn't see Gyökeres passing the ball back for Calafiori and Timber to take shots. And I love Timber and Calafiori, and I think they have they have the skills to be good attackers, or attackers from defensive position, but ultimately we don't create chances for the striker. And Arteta's been like that since the beginning. The striker under Arteta has always been a facilitator. It went from Lacazette to Jesus to Havertz. Gyökeres is not going to be a facilitator, so you need to build a system that creates chances for him. So far, we've seen him try a little bit against Bilbao and Manchester United, but the fact that he watched Martinelli basically dribble into Gyökeres and, kind of give away the one chance that Gyökeres really had to get free of Konate. I don't know how he's going to continue this. Like, you need to take this into your own hands, man. You got to drop Martinelli and just play Eze and play your best attackers, regardless if they're good defensively or not. Gyökeres and Eze are Berta signings. They will be the ones that, if they are not utilized properly, will get angry, and then Berta will take his complaints to the board. It's weird we don't use a goal scorer to score goals. It's like we are trying to saw with a hammer. Well, everything about the way that we play football under Mikel is everybody does the job that they're not meant to be doing. So unless it's perfect and it works out perfectly, you end up wanting people to just do their job, but they're not in the position to do it. Meaning, like, if things don't go perfect, then you cannot have Zinchenko at left back, because you ultimately just want somebody who can defend, but he can't do that. When you're struggling to create chances, especially on the left, you don't want a DM in your left center mid, but Declan Rice is there. What can you do? You get what I'm saying? When you need a goal, you kind of just want a striker that you can just kick the ball to, that can just put the ball in the back of the net, but you don't. You have Havertz there, or whoever the fuck is up there. So, everything about the way that we play is about players being in positions that the natural position, like what they're supposed to be doing in that position, is not really what their main role is. But it has to be perfect for it to work. And there's a lot of it needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect for this perfect thing to happen, this perfect pattern to come off, this perfect set piece to come off. But I would love for us to just simplify things, because it feels like the managers that are just simplifying the football and just playing simple football are getting the best results. And that's not how we're playing. Gyökeres creating chances for Timber and Calafiori is emblematic of what Arteta's football is. And Gyökeres should be knocking on his door saying, when are we going to start creating chances for me? Because I want to see Gyökeres miss chances. I don't want to see Calafiori and them miss chances, because I know if Gyökeres misses one chance, probably the next one he'll put in the back of the net, like he did against Leeds. And the one goal that he has scored in open play has come from a completely solo chance. Nobody created that for him. Calafiori put it into space, but there was a lot of work to be done as soon as Gyökeres got the ball. So Arteta's not doing a good enough job at this stage for Gyökeres. So he needs to get that together. I still think Gyökeres has the potential to be a really good signing for us, but I'm getting red flags already because I just feel like it shouldn't be this difficult to get strikers into goal scoring positions. Jess, did you see Walmare video likes Kai Havertz is his favorite German player? I love him already. I did see that. I don't want to see Martinelli and Marino start for us ever again. I'm sick of this, and all it does is give the Arteta sexual scapegoats to avoid blaming Arteta for our shit attack. Yeah, I mean, playing Marino and Martinelli told me that you didn't want to score. So you didn't want creativity, you didn't want to score goals, you didn't want to be an attacking team. You wanted to defend, and so I don't really blame people for saying that we played for a draw. I don't really blame people for saying that, we didn't come to play football. I do think both teams were cagey, but in the end of the day, we lost and they didn't. So nobody is going to say, like, if we had come out and we had came out with the win, they probably would have, dug into Slot a little bit for being cagey at home, especially. But it's results. Sometimes it's just results based, and we lost, so we get kicked. And so when you go away from home and you have Odegaard and Ethan on the bench and Eze on the bench, especially, and you made this big song and dance about Eze and let it all work out, and he's going to come in and change things and all that, and you still start Martinelli when we know Eze is fit. He already played against Liverpool this season, and he's really good away from home against Liverpool anyway, even at a worse team. To not play him until the 70th minute showed everything that you cannot say that you wanted to win, because if you wanted to win, you would have played your best players. You would have. You did not play your best 11. So I don't blame Peter Schmeichel for saying what he said. I don't blame Ljungberg for saying what he said. I don't blame Carragher for saying what he said, because I don't necessarily disagree. And it's annoying to have certain people say things about the club, because obviously they're always picking on us, but I don't really blame them at all. I don't. When I used to play football, my team would ask me, how do you want us to feed you? I was a striker. It doesn't seem like we do that for Gyökeres. No, I mean, ultimately, like, I just want to see Odegaard, Eze, and Ethan do everything they can to get Gyökeres the ball. And obviously the wingers as well, Saka, whoever, and Madueke. I just want to see those players be forced to give Gyökeres the ball. If Gyökeres fucks up, fair enough. That happens. But right now, it still seems like we're trying to do the same things. Yesterday was definitely going back to the norm, where I saw against Bilbao and Manchester United more of a desperation to try to get Gyökeres in, albeit the execution was bad, into goal-scoring positions. It seemed like we went back to tight, in the game against Liverpool. So you have the game at home against Nottingham Forest, which is a really good test, because Nottingham Forest is going to be an awkward team to play against, because they're not as bad as Leeds. Obviously, they have players that can hurt you. They have Morgan Gibbs-White. They have new players coming in, Omari Hutchinson there. Douglas Luiz is there now. They have also a physical team as well. They have some players that, can, good defensive structure. I know they lost to West Ham, but we know typically they're a good team. We're going to see what we're about at home, because we should be winning. We should be creating chances. And I'm not going to be hearing about Saka not being there if he doesn't play, or, oh, well, we just need more time and blah, 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 blah. We should be seeing a front line of Eze, Gyökeres, and one of Madueke or Saka, whoever's fit. We should be seeing Odegaard and or Ethan, our best, and whatever else we got going on behind that. And we should be playing good attacking football. That's it. You're not going to get very many more of these. Well, we're playing difficult games, so it's okay that we don't muster any chances. Like, I'm tired of that. This is who he is as a manager. Y'all get used to it. When I saw our midfield, it reminded me of us against Everton 22-23 when Dyche started Decore, Gay, and Onana. We can't blame Gyökeres when all three creative players who could have been creating chances for him were on the bench. And even the players that were out there were not fussed about getting him the ball. Because I can accept that maybe you don't have your best creative players maybe available to you, or you don't play them. But the emphasis should still be that Zubamendi, Declan Rice, Martinelli, and Madueke are desperate to get this man the ball. And Marino, And these people, they did not like they weren't trying to get him the ball. They weren't trying to get him the ball at all, and so I don't know if Arteta was so scared. Um, what happened? Um, I don't know if it was because Arteta was so scared that we would lose the ball, so he was just like, "Don't even try to pass it to him. Just hold it and just go backwards." But this manager is killing me. Like, he's killing me. I think Arteta has done a good job with certain things, but this blind spot that he has with the attack is starting to it's grating now. Farhan, thank you so much for your super chat. Says having same feeling that something magic happens. What do you mean? Like in the transfer window, having some feeling that something magic happens, or just in the season? Because I don't think anything's going to happen now. Isn't the window closed? Or is it closing it closes right now, doesn't it? Let's see. Um, I think the window is like done. We just haven't have the Hincapie announcement, but we know that that deal is done. Yeah, because the window is like closed now. Um, yeah, man, they're killing us. The the old men are killing us, but they're not wrong. This is Petite never passes up a chance to kick us when we're down for sure. But he said, I understand what he's saying, referencing Peter Schmeichel, because I get bored sometimes and I just want Arsenal to be back to those days of 3 years ago when Arteta was playing beautiful football, strike, pass the ball forward, bring speed and great movement at the last third of the pitch all the time. And that was very difficult to defend because the danger was coming from everywhere. Now it's like, I give you the ball, you give me back the ball, I give you the ball. And even some players are starting to get bored on the pitch and they don't have solutions afterwards. Like I said, Petit never passes up an opportunity to kick us in the fucking tits when we're, having a bad moment. But I don't necessarily feel like he's wrong either. We're just bored. Farhan says I'm talking about the window. I don't think anything's gonna happen. I think the window is closed. Doesn't it close at 7? It's 7 now. Unless somebody puts in a deal sheet, you know, I think it's done. But Fabrizio will still report Turkey and Saudi still open. So yeah, Fabrizio ratings have gone down for me. He's not the guy anymore. The argument is he should have won domestic cup sooner. We had a good enough team, but he's neglected those competitions for the major stuff. Now he has to deliver on that. Is he wrong? Nope. Tony Adams is right. Peter Schmeichel is right. Lose a game and Arsenal fans jump ship. It's going to take a bit of time to get this squad locked in. Have a bit of faith and back the club. Just take a deep breath, y'all, or take a breath, y'all. I don't know if it's necessarily jumping ship. I just think, it's not about just losing this game. It's about the consistent performance that we see in these big away games. And I just don't think you can really blame Arsenal fans for being tired of not actually carrying a threat in these big games at all. And Arteta choosing Marino and Martinelli when he has better players on the bench in a 6-pointer, which these points could come back to haunt us at the end of the season. We know how important these games are in the grand scheme. And even if, now the excuse is we have so many new players that we need to wait until they get settled in. It's always something. It's Saliba wasn't there. We just need to have Saliba. Then Saliba was there for a full season, but it was, but the beginning of the season, we just weren't locked in. But after Dubai, we were wait until next season. Then it was, we were injury ridden. But once we get all of our players back, we'll be fine. Now we have some injuries, but we have depth. Now these players need to get locked in. But once they get locked in, then there's always an excuse. and we shouldn't need perfect settings to create basic chances against a team that's been leaking goals. I just have I can't give this, I can't do it anymore, guys, like genuinely. It's not so much about, I can stomach a loss at Anfield. I can stomach a loss at Anfield. I just feel like, you know what it is I don't think we gave our best at all. And I think the precedent was set when the lineup came out. The precedent was set when the lineup came out. And that's what's frustrating is, the top 6 games are one thing because, there's an option to draw, so, and most of the times we do get a draw, so it doesn't necessarily hurt us, but we also take this approach in games, in Europe as well, and I just don't think that you'll ever win a Champions League either playing this way, playing really cautious, in big games. You kinda have to be brave, and if you can name me a manager that lacks bravery in big moments that wins something, let me know who that manager is. Because even if you call managers like Jose Mourinho and Simeone pragmatic, you would never call them cowardly. And I think there's a difference now where Arteta may be pragmatic, but he also gives this element of cowardice as well. With his substitutions, with his, there would be never a chance that Jose Mourinho or Simeone would leave their best attacker or one of their, probably, yeah, Eze, leave their best attacker on the bench and play probably our worst attacker in a 6-pointer, even if they wanted to be defensively solid. So if you can name a manager that does these things and wins big trophies, then let me know. But I just don't see it like that. I'm trying to figure out if Arteta's giving big dog energy, if he's giving mid-table energy. It's feeling mid-table. Let's see. Like when we play, like when we went away to Inter and played very well, but lost one to dodgy penalty. I can take a loss like that, but not losing like a coward. And even that game, it was like we tried to attack, but it just felt like it was flat. A lot of our attack over the last 2 seasons has felt flat. And we had chances, but we just couldn't put it in the back of the net. But we could stomach that Inter loss for sure. Like I remember after that, it was like, okay, we tried, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. It is what it is. But yesterday, it was just, I don't even know if I can say it was flat like it was last season. Our attack was really flat last season. It was non-existent. There was no plan to attack. If there was, it failed miserably. Miserably. Look at Simeone's first 5 years at Atletico. They were 8th before him. Within 5 years, they won everything possible except the UCL versus prime Barca and Real Madrid. Simeone is a killer. Mourinho's title-winning teams were top goal scorers, myth that they just defended. This is what I'm saying. It's, even if you're going to play this way, you have to have devastating attackers because you're going to only give them 1 or 2 chances. But up until now, he hasn't had devastating attackers. And even still, he now has somebody like a Gyökeres and he has somebody like a Eze. He chose not to play Eze until the end of the game, and he's choosing to not create for this player as well. So, yeah. It was 3 attackers, Ethan, Odegaard, and Eze. It's also true that they didn't have their best attackers at the club for 3 training sessions before the game. It was a mitigating circumstance. Arteta becomes a coward when he doesn't even back all his players, only his favorites. I really dislike a manager who doesn't even that. Yeah, I just feel like we're gonna have the excuses again. And just a couple of days ago, people were saying they felt like we could win everything and we had everything that we need. And then now, again, here we are, with a loss and some of the same themes that we've seen over the last couple of seasons. And now people are, oh, but they need time to gel. They need time to do this. They need time to do that. And it's just like, when will it ever be the case that he just didn't do enough? That's never the case because it's never on Arteta. It's always on someone else. Never seen a manager so protected in my life. If this was Emery, they would be stomping and kicking. They would be trying to get him out. In the last 9 to 10 years, only one team has won the league without being top scorers as well, and it was Liverpool, and they scored 90 plus goals. I mean, look, listen, we're not necessarily in a position right now where we look like we're not like right now from like the standing standpoint, because we scored 5 goals against Leeds, we look all right. But you know, preseason didn't really cover us in that much glory. We struggled in some ways. And we'll see against the Nottingham Forest and teams like that. I expect us to beat Man City at home. If we struggle against them, then whatever. We're gonna go away to Newcastle. Will we score a goal? When's the last time we scored away against Newcastle? You know? So yeah, we have 6 goals, Chelsea have 7, Liverpool have 8. And we have 1 goal against us. So our goal difference is 5 right now. Only Chelsea have a better goal difference, but you know, let's see. Like I said, we play against Newcastle soon as well, and that's going to be a big test because that's a team that we just don't score against. If we go away to their spot, we cower and we don't create any chances whatsoever. So if we're not creating chances against Newcastle, I want to hear the excuses, because when are you guys going to expect us to be good attacking wise in open play against everybody in the league? At least we didn't go life or death this season with relegation side. Sorry, you guys. I'm just trying to get this image up for you guys so we can visually see everything that we bought this season or this summer. There you go. Right? That's everything. Yeah. The blueprint to stop us is easy. The blueprint to stop us is very easy. We are incredibly predictable. And if we don't have set pieces, well, let's see. How many of our goals have been set pieces this season already? 4? 4 out of the 6? 4 out of the 6? So we're just like Chelsea. Let's see. It's not an excuse, it's reality. Emery loses 3-0 at home to Forest against relegation battling team in his 3rd year. If Arteta did that in his full 3rd season, he finished 2nd. He's a dead man walking. Yeah, but who really, I mean, okay. The Emery stuff, it's like, yeah, okay, if it was Emery or if it was Arteta and he was in that situation, then people would be killing him. But we're meant to be the best team, if not one of the best teams in the league now. So Emery's not going to get shat on, because Emery only gets put on a pedestal because it fucks with Arsenal fans. Like, nobody really rates Emery that highly. Emery is only put on a pedestal because it undermines Mikel, when he does well and Mikel is not doing well. So if you take Emery out of the picture completely, Arteta is only being judged upon the expectations of the club and where we are now. So whether Emery is fucking up in his 3rd season doesn't really justify Arteta and Arteta's inability to get us scoring goals or even creating good chances in games. So the Emery whataboutism, I saw somebody doing that yesterday, saying like, well, where are the comparisons between Emery and Mikel now? And I was like, this isn't the right time to do Emery versus Arteta, because Arteta just went to Anfield and left Eze and Odegaard and Ethan on the bench and started Marino. Like, Arteta is not he hasn't beat you know what, I'll say this. Arteta has not beat the allegations. Arteta has not beat the allegations. That's what I'll say. As he may have beat Emery, he may have beat Emery, but he hasn't beaten the allegations. And until he beats those, people are going to have questions. We are one of the best teams, always second best. Agreed, Emery is just a banter tool. I would even step it up from that and cut the banter out of it. He's just a tool. I mean, he's only brought up to a pedestal because of the conversation against our Arsenal and Arteta. So, we know what Emery is, and we've always been right about Emery. Emery, Arsenal fans are not bitter about Emery. We're just right. We just know Emery better than you. You guys think that Emery is different. He's not. He is going to have a rough season this season. The only benefit for them is that they're back in the Europa League. So he'll be in familiar territory where he can be successful. But outside of that, we know about what Emery is on. Gahey is staying at Palace. I thought they got the here we go for that. Oh, that would be really good. I just don't believe it. The deal sheet has gone in for Gahey. There's optimism it gets done. Yeah, no, they're going to get it done. Yeah, they put in a deal sheet for him. Yeah. The replacement deal fell through. Yeah, but they're putting in a deal sheet now. So what's the reality on this now? Is it falling through, or a deal sheet has been submitted for Mark Gahey? Yeah, they're putting in deal sheets now. I just don't think that, Liverpool are just in la la land right now. Everything is going their way. I'd be surprised if something bad happened to them. 20 plus signings on deadline day. This is the best window in Premier League history. No, it's a good one, that's for sure. I've just checked on Xavi Hernandez, 9 trophies he has won in the Middle East and for Barcelona. Listen, I'm open to having conversations about the next manager, but I think from an Arsenal perspective, we're nowhere near getting a new manager. And they said it's up to Crystal Palace now. And so here's my thing about this, just changing the subject to this whole, having a manager of Glasner's status who's won you 2 trophies in 12 months is, for you to fuck around with him feels very dangerous for Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace are looking really strong right now, and that's really mostly due to Glasner and his coaching. For them to be, I know that the players wanted to go, but it's not even so much that they want to go, it's that Crystal Palace have not found or top quality replacements for 2 players that have gone to title contending sides. So that's the level that they're at. Glasner is losing a top attacker and a top center back in one window, and they have not replaced with a similar quality. So, and Glasner did not want Gahey to go. He didn't. Actually read that he could walk if Gahey goes, and he already spoke multiple times about not being happy about the window, and he was already talking about that like around the Community Shield time. I think they need to be careful, because to me, Glasner could coach a Champions League side. Maybe not top 10 a top 10 Champions League side, but the Dortmunds and the Leverkusens and the Monacos and teams like that, those types of teams, he could coach them teams. He could coach those teams, you know? So I'm like, I can't believe that they're have a manager of this status at their club. Not that I'm saying that Crystal Palace is some low life, but this is their first time in Europe, and they're actually not giving him everything that he deserves. They should have supported him better than United supported Amarim. I think that they're in danger of Glasner getting a good offer from somewhere and him saying, I'm ready to go. because he doesn't look happy, and he shouldn't be, because you need to be bringing in quality for him, and you're not, and it's taken too long. And if he said he didn't want Gahey to go, they should have listened. But it's not my problem. But that's my take on it. I'll take Glasner all day. United could have gone for him, and if they sacked that bum. Glasner is waiting for the inevitable United call. Leverkusen needs a manager. Perfect job. Glasner will leave. Arsenal signed 8 starting caliber players, and we still have complaints. Set pieces come from good plays that oppositions put behind fouled. We were so bad at it, but now we used to it. It's a problem. No, it's not necessarily that. Arsenal have had a good window, and I don't think anybody disagrees with that we've had a really good window. It may not be a 10 for everybody, but it's definitely a really, really good window for us. And set pieces are not a problem, and I don't have a problem with us being really good at them. What I have a problem with is us being so reliant on them that we don't create chances from open play. And it doesn't feel like the manager is desperate to solve that problem, because he's so used to kind of getting over with the set pieces. With Arteta, he focuses on the fine margins of games and doesn't have a good hold, I feel like, on what a team should be. So I feel like a good team has like all the makings. Like they have the X factor, they have, inevitability, they have goal scoring, they create chances like ad nauseum. They can open teams up. They can go up against teams basketball game, but they can also do the deep blocks. They're good defensively. They have all the elements. And then where they find that additional 2% that makes them better than everybody else is either they have a freak nature of a player like a Holland, right? That just is such a freak nature of a player that it's like, that is the difference. That is the fine margin. That is the difference, the 2%, 1% difference between them and everybody else. Or you have set pieces or something that you are special at. You are so good at it that is the difference between you winning the title and Liverpool not, right? We don't have the other stuff, but we have set pieces. We don't have inevitability. We don't create chances ad nauseum. So without those things, it means that the set pieces are becoming something that we need in order to stay afloat, rather than something that is making us just that 2% better than everyone else. And, being so hell-bent on throw-ins, set pieces, and things like that, but we're still not able to create chances from open play, just feels like bullshit, Mr. Holiday says, I'm concerned. My concern is that we don't like to access central spaces. We only like to go down the wings because we are scared. And that happens kind of no matter who's out there as well. Like central spaces are not being not utilized because certain players out there. It's because Arteta doesn't want us to access those spaces. And so we are always down the wings and mostly on the right. And it's been probably, we're going into our 3rd season with that being the reality, and people are still acting like it's okay. So yeah, they will lose games. I don't know who that is, but I don't know if that's us or Liverpool or Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace can't compete. Their ownership structure is split, similar to us under the Emirates era. Wenger, very little spending, selling their best players every year. Glasner should leave ASAP. Even the super teams of Barcelona and Madrid that were way more talented, silly lost games. Question, has there been a sharp increase in corners or fouls that we get, or we now convert it at such a rate that it looks like we are dependent on it? No, we're dependent on it because there were so many games last season. If we did not have set pieces, we probably would have drawn or lost more games. I get that you're trying to push the fact that like being good at set pieces is a good thing and we shouldn't be upset about it. Nobody's upset that we're good at scoring on set pieces. Nobody is upset by that. What people are upset about is the fact that if we don't score set pieces like yesterday, yesterday was a really good example of Arsenal not being able to capitalize on this. Maybe we had like 7 corners in that game, but because they all came on Madueke's side, which is naturally Saka's side, Declan Rice had to take the corners from the other side. And so they were pretty much rendered useless, which meant that throughout the game, we didn't create anything because we could not take advantage of corners, which was probably the way that Arteta wanted to score. But we didn't have a way of breaking Liverpool down or creating good quality chances for Gyökeres or Madueke or Martinelli or anyone, because it's not a focus. It's not a focus. So I think we all know that we're pretty heavily reliant on set pieces, and it's not by design, but it's become our reality. And I think because we get away with it, Arteta's like, oh, it's fine. But then you have games like yesterday where you're just like, it would have been nice to be able to score a regular goal, just open up a team and just kick it in the back of the net, just for once. Relying upon set pieces is different than using them as an X factor. Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say, but I didn't have the words. You should have set pieces should be an X factor, not something that if you don't have those, it might be the case that you cannot score or create chances. And right now, sometimes it feels like the balance is off there, where maybe against Leeds, it didn't feel like that. It did feel like that against Man United, and it felt like that against Liverpool. The difference between those 2 games was that we were actually able to capitalize on one. The results of those games, the result of the Man United game could have been the same as the Liverpool game, if not a draw, had we had not been able to convert a set piece, because I don't think we really had a shot on goal in that game either. Not a single game where our open play XG has been over 1 says it all. Ash, seriously. And people are saying we don't have a problem with it. And yes, like, of course, when we're in mixed company, I'll try to like zhuzh it up a little bit and just, try to not make it seem like it's as big of an issue. But amongst each other, we should be able to be honest, amongst each other, we should be able to be like, this is not good. But obviously, some people probably feel like, all right, let's just see what it's like when we have all of our players. But looking at the first couple of games of the season, is it not obvious that it may be the case that we don't get the opportunity to see all of our best players together? Is that not something that we can maybe come to grips with, that we may never have the chance to have all of our best players available at once? So maybe the manager needs to be able to have a system that creates chances regardless of who's in there, instead of it being solely based on if Saka's out there to kick the, to do the corners, to take the corners and also create things from himself. Like, I don't really understand why people think that we're going to have all of our players available to us at any point in the season when, first couple games of the season, we've lost Saka, Odegaard, Kai Havertz before the season even started, and Saliba. You know what I mean? So yeah, so far our XG, our expected goals, our XG so far this season is 4.4. So Chelsea's is 6.4. Liverpool are just the type of team that even if they don't have a lot of XG, they have so many X factor players that they just kick the ball in the back of the net. I'm not sure Arsenal have that same level of quality, but it kind of is what it is. We need to create more chances. It's just that simple. We just need to create way more chances than what we have been doing, and fast. This shouldn't be a problem in 2025. Madueke is so good. Why is he hated? He is better signing than Gyökeres by yesterday's performance. I mean, yesterday was probably the first time that Madueke looked really good for us. So, I think most of the disappointment around the Madueke signing was about him coming from Chelsea, and the fact that up until the time where we signed Eze, it felt like he was going to be a starter for us, or the second attacking signing. So yeah, Madueke this was the first game where he was actually really good for us. So yeah, I don't really have another answer outside of that. but he was really good yesterday. And it's just a shame we couldn't get him on the ball more. But he was the most dangerous attacker from both teams for sure. John says but Arteta is killing the team with his weird lineups. If Eze started, it would have probably been 3-1. He like, not choosing your best 11 is insane to me in a big game like that. There's just no reason not to, especially because it's not like Eze doesn't have to. He's 27. He's played in this league forever. He's fit. He's started games for Crystal Palace this season already. He beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, and he was a big part of that. It's just lame not to play your best 11. It just was whack. I don't understand how anybody is justifying it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It feels very much like that people have an excuse for everything. Saying he wasn't ready feels ready for what? You know? I didn't even know that Gabrielle was captain yesterday. Oh, it's cute. I guess we got, Saka and Odegaard went out there, so that makes sense. But oh, yeah, our XG against Liverpool was 0.5. That's crazy. Galaxy Brain added again. Nobody noticed Captain Armband. It's always a mute talking point. Pep said that Arteta loves Arsenal. I doubt it from what happened yesterday, benching Eze and Wanyeri. I don't think that Arteta doesn't love Arsenal. I think he does love Arsenal. I just think he just doesn't have Arsenal DNA. You could play for the club, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have Arsenal DNA. And his style is not it. Really. And he's just very pragmatic, and that's just not that doesn't work for us unless you're winning. But I do think he loves the club. He's just a new manager. I think that's a big part of it. He's a new manager that's not really, he's learning on the job still. And I know it's like he's been here for 5 years, so he should know. But when managers have 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience, and they've been at multiple clubs, it's different, you know. Arteta's just still doing the novice shit again. And one thing about Arteta that I still don't really understand is why his in-game management is so bad. I can maybe understand just about if the initial things that you did weren't working, because sometimes things don't work out the way that you think they're going to work out on paper. But for you to sit there and not make any changes and to be so reactive, he only makes changes like if we're playing well, he makes changes at the 60th minute. If things are not going well or it's still 0-0, he will not change until between the 70th minute and the 80th minute. Why don't you he should have made changes at halftime. Marino and Martinelli should have been off at halftime. And he didn't make changes until after Curtis Jones started, popping up into different, pockets and kind of giving us problems. And we had already lost control. Like, I didn't really understand why he did that. Bro took more inspiration from Moyes than Pep. In the first half, there was a moment near the end where Madueke was running on transition and just slowed down and nobody was bursting to make runs. Then we reset. Liverpool players back in shape. Why? Because that's how Arteta has coached them. People for like 2 years have blamed specific players for this, but don't notice that no matter who's out there, it happens. It is coached. Like, it is coached into these players to be this way. 3DMs is crazy. Even Moyes didn't teach him that. I know Pep didn't. He changed Prime Wenger's playing style the real Arsenal way. Mikel has a script. If the script don't work, he can't improvise. He's not creative. He doesn't coach attacking football. He doesn't understand improvise. Nkunku to Milan. Arteta's still playing Haram ball. I hate my life. I loved Arteta as a player and even more as a manager. Arsenal had a legend based on winning FA Cup and its history. So by right, Arteta is an Arsenal legend. He is not. Unpopular opinion, Rice should have been moved to 6 and Zubi should have been off as well. It's never the case that in order for us to be more attacking, that we take off a defender when we need a goal. He used to do that. He did that in 22-23 and it worked. I remember when we played against United at home and it was 2-2 and we were pushing for a goal, we had them in hell, man. We had them in hell. We shot off like 20 something shots in like 15 minutes, but he had taken one of our defenders off and brought on Hincapie. And I know it's like, damn, he brought on Hincapie, but still, you had Jesus and Hincapie and Martinelli and Saka and Odegaard, so you brought on another attacker and took off a defender and just like you had them so pinned in that they couldn't breathe. Since then, he doesn't do that anymore. If he wants to get more attacking, he'll change DMs, he'll change fullbacks, he'll change the wingers, but it's always like for like. So it's never like we get more attacking. We just maybe get a little bit different. Now with Eze, I do think because he's just a much better player than the players that we have in those positions, he makes such a big difference, and he made a big difference in those minutes. But I feel like if you wanted to really get attacking, it would have been even better if he had like maybe moved Madueke to the left and brought Ethan on, or Dowman. I think it should have been Ethan just based on the amount of time that he's played for us, and put Eze in the left center mid, brought Odegaard in the right center mid, and taken one of Zubi or Declan Rice off. But it's never the case that we take off one of those DMs. I remember one time he just changed Jorginho in for somebody, and I was like, this guy is just he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, man. Noni had no backup because of slow Marino. The defense plus Noni deserved to win. Rice is yet to kick off the season, had similar terrible performances early last season. Let us be patient and see them gel going full throttle. I don't really, it's like, be patient, all this, be patient, let them gel, all them, da, 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 da. So when we drop points in these first couple of games because we weren't ready, then people will be like, oh, it's because we didn't have our players. Like, you need to be able to let your players gel and also win games at the same time. So this is probably the one game that will get a pass, where you're playing the champions and you're playing them away. So if you lose, it's kind of like, okay. But the next couple of games that we play, there's going to be an expectation that we win those, even if our players are still gelling. So, Liverpool is gelling, and some of their attackers and their players have not gotten off the mark. I don't think Wirtz was particularly good yesterday either, but that's not stopping them from winning games. So it shouldn't stop us from winning games. And Slot has this ability to have one player that actually had 2 last season, and now he has 1 this season, where he takes existing players and tweaks their role, and then all of a sudden they become world beaters. He did it with Gravenberch and Gakpo to a certain extent last season, and he's done it with Soboslai this season. Is Arteta going to be able to take an existing player and make them into a world beater with his coaching? Let's see. You maybe can give him Declan Rice from last season, but let's see if he can coach somebody into a superstar, because I want that for my team as well. But Nottingham Forest at home. Listen, Nottingham Forest at home, Athletic Club away, Manchester City at home, Newcastle away. That's not an easy group of teams to play, but it's not Liverpool away. So we need to be winning. We need to be winning, because Liverpool are going to win their games. Would you take Glasner as a new Arsenal manager? I mean, in theory, yes, but I also just feel like, I would like to see what else is available. Let's see. Jess, you miss Thomas Partey though. Zubi can be better. Norgard, EPL proven. I want to see him play though. No, I don't miss Thomas Partey at all, to be honest. Zubimendi should have been sub second half. He was bullied. I wish Norgard and Havertz wasn't injured. Yesterday we missed Havertz. We need him big games. Gyökeres is good for low blocks and small teams. I think especially when it comes to Gyökeres and Zubimendi, what I do think is interesting is that nobody has learned from their mistakes with Raya. And also even with Havertz, which is a player that both of those two players came from Premier League sides. They played in the Premier League for many years, and they were largely written off in their first 6 months, only to now be players that you rely upon so much so that you want Havertz to play in the big games. You guys haven't even given Gyökeres or Zubimendi an opportunity to actually adapt to the league. And if you remember with Raya specifically, there was a large writing off of him. We should just play Ramsdale. He's shit. And it took him all the way until January to really get like gelled in. Zubimendi being written off and Gyökeres being written off, and the two of them didn't even play in this league. But you lived through Havertz and you lived through Raya, just shows me how nobody learns their lesson. Nobody learns their lesson ever. They never learn their lesson. Every time a player does not step off of the plane in his perfection, they write them off. So much so that you're clamoring for somebody that was largely written off as well. And now you want him to be playing. Can you please give them a chance to get going? Have you not watched Wirtz? He's bigger price tag, and he's not even looking like the player that he's meant to be. Cherky, not looking like the player he's meant to be. Reinders, struggling. Can you give them a chance, or is it just they're just written off? Seriously, like, give me a break. Like, how many times do you guys need to see this until you get it? Like, obviously, we need to be able to still win and put in decent performance and good performances, get results, whatever, even though these players are adapting. But that still does not change the fact that if in match week 3 you have written off a player, I just feel like you want people to fail, or you want to say I told you so or something like that, because it's just like, did you not learn with Raya? And that was a difficult one because obviously, like, it was so dramatic because of what happened with Ramsdale and stuff like that, but it just it was so obvious that Raya was a good player. It was just he needed time, and it took him till January, and he's a Premier League proven player. So maybe we should give Gyökeres and, Zubimendi more than 3 games. It's just weird. I just don't know how many times you guys need to learn the same lesson. Give them a minute to adapt to the league. MLS can play left center mid better than Rice. I've seen him in those positions. He has more control over the ball. I mean, listen, I get that Rice is going through a difficult time, but you know, I wouldn't mind seeing somebody else there, maybe maybe MLS, just to see if we can get more technical quality in those positions, to see if like maybe the left-hand side is a little bit better. But ultimately, like, Rice is still one of our best players, and when we play well, he usually is playing well as well. So I don't want to be too harsh on him right now. But saying MLS can play those positions better when we've never seen him in midfield for Arsenal, really, little over the top, but I kind of get what you're saying. Ultimately, I kind of get that in theory, MLS would be a better left center mid. But Rice is just doing whatever. I don't know. He doesn't look like himself yet. So I don't know. Arteta needs to change the tactics. We play wings so much that every opponent knows it. Let me go back to this. You play the wings incessantly, but you start players like Martinelli who can't beat their man. Make that make sense. I'm tired of giving chance shit. We need to win this effing league. What the F? We probably, I don't know about the Premier League, but in terms of players to me that need time to get adapted to the league, for me, Gyökeres and Zubimendi are going to need time. I think also because the 6 role in the Premier League is really difficult. I think, you can imagine any player that comes in to play a lone 6 role in the Premier League is going to need some time. And from Gyökeres, to be honest, like, he's not being helped by the manager at all. So, but Havertz's stocks and his brand gets so much bigger when he's not playing. And I think Arson said this, like, whoever's not playing is world class at the time. Kai Havertz is not the answer. And Arteta saying that the reason why he can't be more adventurous is because he didn't have Kai Havertz is just it's dark, you know, when average players are integral to your system, it's dark. MLS is creative and plays risky passes frequently. Rice ain't that guy. True talk, rather plays Zinni as 8. That's not really what people were saying last season, especially at the end of the season where he pretty much carried us. Rice deserves more respect than that. There's never been a more big game player for us in the last 2 seasons. So I think he deserves more respect than what you guys are saying, I'll be honest. But he hasn't started the season out well. That's for sure. The expectation is to announce the arrival of Hincapie imminently. It's genuinely been a privilege. I really wish that, this signing was going to feel better, but it just feels a lot less exciting now that we're struggling, or we struggled. I just saw this Gyökeres Premier League all actions. I do feel bad for him, but it's the lay of the land when you know, when you're an Arsenal player, you have more ops than anyone else. So, he just has to hold tight. But Arteta's not helping him with his tactics. And, again, I saw Gyökeres creating chances for Timber and Calafiori, and that's by design because that's the same thing that Havertz was doing. So Arteta would have played Havertz yesterday if he could have. And that just says everything that you need to know about Arteta. So that Gahey thing did actually fall through. I mean, at the very least, that makes me feel a little bit happier. Hopefully a couple, no, let me not say that. But let's just say if they got a couple of injuries to that back line, maybe they would fall off a little bit. Listen, I don't feel bad because I know people are hoping that our players get injured. I know that, we literally saw somebody sit up on a podcast and praise God for injuries. So I don't really want them to get injuries, but I do think that if they did get injuries, they'd probably be more likely to drop points without Gahey. But, that Crystal Palace defender is good for Liverpool this season, but bad for the future. I hoped they sign him. They might sign a better player. Well, they're not going to. I mean, the window's closed. So, yeah. Players I would like to sell next summer, apart from the obvious: White, Marino, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, and Havertz. Yeah, I mean, I think Marino is, especially as an option in midfield, for him to be chosen over Ethan Eze and Odegaard for a game like that just shows the blind spot that Mikel has. He rates average players. Arteta, even from the beginning, he has this sense of like trying to prop up players that we know are not good enough, like Rob Holding and Eddie Nketiah. Those are 2 players that should have never played a big role in Arsenal's squad, even at the beginning, because you had some money. You had money that should have been used instantly to get rid of Rob Holding, who is a championship level player, if that, and Eddie Nketiah, who is probably a championship or bottom level Premier League player. Those 2 players played big roles in this team for 2-3 seasons. And Arteta gave like Eddie a big contract. He rated him. He started him in games that he shouldn't been starting. He trusted Rob Holding in a title race. It's wild, so Arteta has this like thing with players that are not really special or have any X factor and are kind of average. And I think Marino and in some ways, Havertz falls in that category as well, where there's nothing truly special about them. They don't start for any other top 6 team, but somehow they play a really big role in ours. And that's why I feel like we can't get past where we want to get to, because nobody has players like this in their team but us, where they're clearly not good enough, but it's like, yeah, we're gonna start them in a 6-pointer against Liverpool and hope to win. Really? Like, what do you say? Marino is quite literally our worst midfielder. He is our worst midfielder out of everyone. Worst. Clearly. Like, it's not even debatable. He's not better than Odegaard. He's not better than Ethan. He's not better than Eze. He's not better than Rice. He's not better than Zubamendi. He's not better than Norgard. He's not better than MLS. And he started in a 6-pointer against Liverpool. He needs to stop playing average players and trying to coach them up. When you had a 300 million pound window and you bought some special players, fucking play them. Changed his position to striker man. If I see that fraud in midfield again, I'm gonna lose it. He's much better at striker than he is at in midfield. Watch Jesus come in the 80th minute of a big game and score important goals. Well, Jesus is actually a good player. Like, his biggest issue is his injuries, but you even saw, last season when he played, we instantly looked better as an attacking group. Havertz does give us some things, like he gives us aerial presence and some physicality in ways, but Jesus is just a much better player than if he's fit. If he was fit, Jesus would be right now our 3rd best attacker, if not 2nd, behind Saka and Eze. He's in that group. The problem with Jesus is not his talent. His talent is undeniable. He is up when we talk about our attackers, he is up there with Eze and Saka. And if you could put out a starting 3 and not think about anything outside of just talent, you would probably start Eze, Jesus, and Saka with the players that we have. So it's no real surprise that some of our X factor and our specialness has dulled since he's not playing, because the players that have replaced him are not special, So Jesus was a special player. He did not have the finishing quality of a elite striker, but he was an elite footballer. So, to me, he's more like a João Pedro type, more maybe of an Ekatike type. He's probably not going to score 20, 30 goals, but he makes everybody around him better. So it's unfortunate that we haven't had him or been able to replace his profile. But if Jesus was fit, there'd be no questions about what his status would be in this team. He's still, like I said, Saka, Eze, Jesus. Those would be our 3 best attackers. Let's see. He would be a great wide forward for us and help our creativity on the left. I would love for him to be fit. I just feel like with the 2 injuries to the knees that he's kind of like washed, but if he had fitness, there'd be no question about what his status in this team would be. No question whatsoever. Here's some copium. Isak has less career GA than King Kai Havertz. Yeah, that's good copium. If Eze started, not saying we would have won, but we would have scored. I agree. Hincapie announced. You guys, let's look at the announcement. This is kind of dulled out just ever so slightly just because of yesterday, but I'm trying to get up for it again because I was really excited, man. Hold on. You guys see it? guys gotta see it. Hey, this was the cheap one, man. They spent all the money on Eze. I'm dead. No spoken word, nothing. No spoken word. This dark by a garage. Somebody else's was like this. I wonder if I think it was like Norgard or somebody's was like that, where it was kind of cheap. Which is kind of it's whatever at this stage. Just announce the guy and let's get going. But yeah, announce the shit and let's get going. But yeah, here he is. He's here and he's perfect. Let me share the screen with you guys. It's so funny how cheap that was. Arsenal said the budget ran out. All right. I know you guys can see it now. There he is. He's here and he's perfect. Piero Hincapie, I think it's Hincapie, completes a loan move to Arsenal. Ecuadorian international Piero Hincapie has joined us from Bayer Leverkusen on a season-long loan. The 23-year-old defender has more than 100 appearances for Leverkusen since joining in 2021, playing a key role in their Bundesliga title victory in 2023-24. Spending his early career in Ecuador, Piero developed through the youth system at Independiente de Valle, where he made his senior debut age 17 during his time playing club football in his homeland, blah, 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 blah. A versatile defender moved to Argentina in 2020, where he made a huge impression during his season in the Primera Division side, Talleres, before signing for Leverkusen. At international level, Piero has 46 appearances for Ecuador, being a member of his country's squad for the 2020 World Cup and the Copa America tournaments in 2021 and 2024. Sporting director Andrea Berta said, "We are delighted to have completed the loan signing for the season of Piero Hincapie. At only 23, Piero has already has significant experience both in the Bundesliga and at international level. He is an intelligent defender with real strength and versatility. His performances in recent years for both club and country have been of a consistent high quality." It's a weird looking little cue there. And we are confident Piero will continue to grow this season and be an important player for us. Mikel says stuff. Welcome to Piero and his family to Arsenal. Piero will wear the number 5 shirt and will join up with his new teammates after returning from international duty. The 5. Sick. The H is silent. Hincapie. What about Nelson? Nelson is at Brentford, but that's not an actual video. It's just a teaser. Is it just the teaser, or is that the actual video? Is he going to get a spoken word too? They gave him the Kepa format. That's what I'm saying. That's what Kepas look like. That's what Kepas look like. It was like just kind of like just a little rank. Shirt number 5. We officially have the best Ecuadorian in the league. We sure do. Hincapie and Kala, we got the best left backs in the league. Hincapie and Kala, I think this is what you meant to say. But listen, this signing, I'm going to try to get like excited for it again. But this signing, I think, is important for us because as we saw against Liverpool, is that we're going to have injuries, and so we need to be prepared. Hincapie is obviously an upgrade on Kivior. We talked about that he's an upgrade on Kivior, and he can and probably will start quite a few games for Arsenal. And so him and Calafiori being our depth on that side is fantastic. It also protects Calafiori and maybe opens up a window for MLS to play in midfield. So I'm really happy with that signing. I think that we need to try to protect our defenders as much as possible, because right now, without our defense, we are nothing. I really liked Mascara's performance yesterday. I thought baptism of fire. He proved to be Mascara for me is a top 3 signing this summer, if I'm honest. I as excited as like Eze is the best signing this summer for me. And I also really like the Zubamendi signing. But for me, the Mascara signing was so important, and it showed yesterday. And that level of signing, I don't think Edu could have ever pulled off. And I'm wondering if Hincapie is going to be the exact same in terms of his ability to step straight in and be total quality. And what I like about him as well is he has the ability to overlap, and he's going to give us a lot of athleticism and all that shit. So, yeah, I really do like this signing, and I think that it's going to add a lot of quality in a position that we've traditionally had a lot of injuries. I don't want to speak on his injury record, but it looked good. Ooh, knock on wood. You know how players are; they can come here and like never be able to walk again. But where we've had a lot of injury problems with Zinchenko and Calafiori and Tomiyasu, hopefully somebody with a good injury record will stop that, you know? So yeah, it's I think Berta has done an amazing job. I have to be really, really honest. I think that he has given Arteta every single thing that he needs in order to win something. And so we're going to get we're going to get an answer to the question whether or not Arteta is the guy to get us over the line, because there's no reason why this team cannot win something. And if right now this squad has the quality where the difference between us winning and losing is probably going to be whether or not the manager is up to it. There's too much quality and too much depth in this team. Do you guys realize that we were at Anfield yesterday and we lost Saliba and it didn't even feel like it? Did you guys deep that yesterday? I'm not saying that we won't miss Saliba long term, but we were at Anfield at possibly our toughest test all season, and we had a player come in, and we did not really look any different. I didn't feel nervous at all outside of the first like shook moments that Mascara had. About 5 minutes after that, he was locked the fuck in. Like, I would feel confident with Mascara at St. James. So you have a squad like that. I'm really not trying to hear about injuries. I'm not really trying to hear about needed players to gel. I'm not really trying to hear about the weather just wasn't perfect or whatever. You kind of need to win something. I think, I would be really, really happy with kind of anything because I've been starved. It wouldn't really change the fact that maybe Arteta needs to go if it wasn't a Champions League or a Premier League. But I just want him to win something because I'm tired of ending every single season and getting to about May and it's a humiliation ritual where we're out of everything and we go out, of it's just we need to win something. I would love for the first thing on offer for us you know, the first thing on offer to be ours, which is the Carabao Cup, to give us some confidence and to have a fucking parade, or maybe not even a parade, but just be excited about something for once. I don't think I can go through another season without silverware. Not just from an Arteta perspective, but as a fan, I get some people try to lie to themselves that football is not about winning, but for a club like Arsenal, the expectation is to win, and when you haven't won in a long time, it starts to wear on you, especially when you play shit football. So, yeah, you gotta win. You gotta win something. You must. This team just needs to taste victory, and then it could be takeoff. You would think Arsenal are trying to protect the president of the United States with the number of defenders this club has signed. Does anyone feel like our midfield balance is off? I think it's felt off since Xhaka, Valeria. The midfield has not felt right since Xhaka has left. I know people don't want to hear that because there is this whole oh, well, Xhaka was only good for one season. But even though he was only technically good for one season, if that's how you want to frame it, the midfield has not functioned the way that it did in 22-23 since then. And we had Odegaard and we had Partey, but the left center mid is throwing everything off because the qualities that you need to play left center mid, I just feel like we just don't have it. And the connection between the midfield and the left-hand side has been broken ever since. And so I just don't know how people don't think that. The balance just hasn't felt right for a while now. It's either it doesn't progress enough, it's too heavily reliant on Odegaard taking the ball from a deeper position and dribbling up the pitch to get us forward. It's not particularly creative enough. Like, it feels like it needs another an 8, but like a true 8, not a Declan 8. But Arteta thinks it's amazing. So the worst thing is, did you see Xhaka's assist the other day? It was the exact position place he played for us in 22-23. Arteta did well and dominated Liverpool for at least 40 minutes. The only issue was Eze not starting for creativity, but Marino did his job well for possessing the ball. Life does not work like that. If you think we dominated at any point in that game and the only, Marino did well, then that's fine. We just watched the game completely different. Havertz signing messed up our midfield. The plan for him was to be Joe Linton type of player, and it didn't work. Arteta has to stop playing 2 DMs, or at least be open to not playing it in every single game. Xhaka has always been a fantastic player. We just finally platformed him at left center mid. The midfield will be fixed with Hincapie here now. Stop playing 2 holding midfielders. The technical quality dropped off post first title race. Anfield trip showed how far Arteta prioritized dual monsters in the team. Yeah, I mean, it was just weird. It was just weird, the whole thing yesterday. How we all saw different things. I still feel like some people are making excuses because I just don't know how you watched yesterday and thought that we dominated at any point. Because we only dominated, like, the whole game was played at the center circle. Nobody was getting behind anybody. No chances were really, there was no real goal mouth action. And so if you consider dominating, winning more duels around the center kind of circle, but not being able to create clear-cut chances and work Allison or break Liverpool down, then we have 2 completely different ideas about what dominating actually is. I just think Arsenal fans view domination as maybe having a good amount of possession and not getting scored on, or keeping the XG against low. But that's not what I view it as. I think it was a very timid and cagey affair for about 70% of the game, and the other 30% was Liverpool post Curtis Jones and then the goal. So, but our technical quality has dropped off with Havertz and Rice coming in and replacing Xhaka and Jesus. Eze will help, but it's still not enough, probably, to make us feel more like we can play that fluid football. Liverpool got lucky yesterday with that free kick, and we didn't attack much until Eze came on. Well, whose fault is that? Why did you only want to attack for 20 minutes? Come on, Jess. What did Liverpool do? Liverpool had no shots on goal in the first half. Arsenal had more possession in the first half, but possession doesn't equal dominance. We know that. We've had a lot of possession in games before, but we did not test them whatsoever. I said this at the beginning of the stream, and this is the last time I'll say it. But if we had won the game, Liverpool would be getting kicked for being cagey, because I think both Slot and Arteta came in with the idea that they were okay with a draw. Neither team wanted to lose. And so both teams were extra cautious. It was just the case that Slot decided to go for it earlier than Arteta, and Arteta reacted too slowly. He allowed the game to get out of control once Curtis Jones came onto the pitch and they started getting some openings. And yes, it took a free kick in order for things to open up. But when you lose, you get kicked for the way that you tried to attempt to play. And unfortunately, we did not come to win. We did not set up in a way or put out a lineup that said that we wanted to win the game. He didn't even play his best 11 available to him. So, you know, having more possession or having low XG against does not equal playing well or dominating. And because we didn't get the result, we get kicked. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. You had to win the game or get a draw in order for us not to feel like we set up properly. Um, that's just how the cookie crumbles. It wasn't dominating at all. We were marginally better than them in the first half because we were winning the duels. But once Declan Rice and Zubimendi stopped winning duels and their midfield started to take over, it just wasn't it. Like, I don't know. You have a weird way of considering what domination is. The early Mascara sub did kind of remove flexibility and using subs later in the game with limited intervals to do so. I just think Yo-Yo and, the subs, and if your game plan was to stink it out for 70 minutes and only try to attack for 20 minutes and it was an inflexible plan, then you set yourself up for failure because if all it took was Saliba's injury to take away a sub window or whatever, and then all of a sudden your plan was just thrown into chaos, then it just wasn't a good plan to begin with. I just don't think any team really comes into a game because ultimately what ended up happening in that game was Liverpool's attack did not work because our defenders were too good and stopped them. Our defending was so good. There was not really a time where I felt like Liverpool were not really trying to penetrate or not really trying. They were cagey and weren't as open as they usually are, but it was more like Gabriel versus Ekitike was taking the ball off, and Mascara was brilliant. Timber was really good, and Kala was really good individually, and Raya. And also Zubi and Rice were doing a lot of blocking and all that kind of stuff. But with us, you don't, outside of Kirkus and Madueke, I really do think Van Dijk and Konate and Soboslai had an easy day. And that was because everything that we tried to do attack-wise broke down before it even got to the attackers. So it was just different. It was just different. I don't think we were, yeah. When we had control, we had zero attack plan. We just held the ball for no benefit. Sky Sports has just said that Gahey deal with Liverpool did not go through and it is off. I mean, without Gahey, I think that if you had to look at the Liverpool team, probably the one thing that you would think is that they have a weakness at the back, but they also have the ability to outscore everybody. So unless they have a really poor day at the office, we're probably the only defense in the league that will stop Ekitike, Salah, Gakpo, and Wirt from doing something. Now, it'll be interesting when we play them again and they have Isak and to see how that changes their dynamics. But there's no other defense that's going to keep that amount of players quiet. They're going to score at nauseum, so even if they don't have Gahey, I think it would take some pretty tragic defensive injuries for them to really fall off. But, at least they didn't get everything they wanted. Eze is a starter next game. He should have been a starter the minute he got here. Arteta did the same versus City 1-0 with Martinelli. I remember he made late changes, did the same at the Etihad where Trossard failed to play the ball across to Nelly. Arteta loves fine margins, which at least Yo-Yo is, clear-minded enough to admit, not that you've never been clear-minded to admit because you're very honest, Yo-Yo, but the fact that this is a clear pattern that really does put us at a fine edge on the margins. And when it doesn't fall our way, you got to expect to get kicked because you were not playing to win. And not only that, you're playing bad football. So you're going to expect the Peter Schmeichels and the Carragers and the Nevilles to kick you because ultimately you went for a draw and you're okay with the draw and you were only willing to risk it for about 20 minutes. And you got caught out this time. You didn't get the, jammy Martinelli deflection goal this time. You didn't have a game where Man City just could not break us down at all and we came out with the 0-0. So yeah, Arsenal are Arteta does this every big game, but let's say that, the top 6 record is gone and we find ourselves going away from home to the bigger grounds and losing. That won't necessarily take us out of the title race, but if we still play rigid and don't create chances at a good clip against the smaller teams, we will struggle. And so, as much as I know people want to just hand wave these games away and say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because all that really matters is as long as we beat the small teams. If you can say definitively that you feel like we're going to beat all the small teams easily, I want some of your hopium because Arteta still seems like he wants to play a more rigid style. Let's see. If Eze started the game in the 10, we would have been 1-0 up when Soboslai bangs that free kick and the draw would have felt like a win. We just don't leave. We don't give ourselves a cushion. So we were always due, something like that happening. And Liverpool are always due a wonder goal or a special goal or something. So we are the only defense who can stop them and the only attack to not capitalize on their leaky defense. Aside from Isak, what is your favorite transfer for any other club? O'Malley, I'm glad you asked that because I'm actually doing a video on this. Right after this, I'm going to obviously zhuzh myself up, but I am doing a video on it. Let me pull up my list. Let's see. Everybody jam. All right. So these are my favorite signings of this for other teams. And well, I'll just give you the 10 that I have. Grealish to Everton. And it was hard to choose because I could have done Ndai as well or Barry, but I went with Grealish for the obvious reasons because to have 4 assists already in 2 starts is kind of crazy. And then obviously you had the smoke for Pep saying, no wonder what happens when you start 3 games in a row or you play 3 games in a row. It's one of my favorite. Eze to Arsenal for the obvious reasons. I still think even with Arteta's ways, Eze is going to do wonders for us. We just already talked about it as well. Granit Xhaka to Sunderland. I think the best way to announce that you're back, is to be able to sign one of the best midfielders in Europe, and Sunderland being able to do that. He's the perfect captain and leader, kind of person for them because he's gritty and he's not afraid to be an underdog. João Pedro for Chelsea. Didn't really see it coming, but he's definitely going to be a superstar for them. Alhaji Malik Diouf for West Ham. He looks like a really, really good left back. A left back that we could have used, but I'm okay with Hincapie. Kudus, obviously, he's going to be brilliant for Spurs. Reinders, obviously, he needs the same adaptation kind of empathy that I give to Zubi and players coming from outside the league, but he's quality and he would have been perfect for our left center mid position. Harvey Elliott to Aston Villa. I think that's a fantastic signing for them to be able to keep Morgan Rogers and to bring in Harvey Elliott. I think they're going to be fine. And I've always wanted to see Harvey Elliott play for somebody else on a consistent basis because I do think he's really talented. I put Ekatike in here because I knew I had to put a Liverpool player in there, or else I'd be called a hater. And Woltemade. Because even though I don't know a lot about him, for what I have looked at, I think he's going to bang in this league. I think he's going to be the typical kind of villain that Newcastle are going to need for St. James. So, yeah, I think going to Newcastle and playing against Woltemade and Gordon and Alanga is going to be long. I know that it's not Isak, but it doesn't need to be. You just need somebody that strikes fear in the opposition. I just have this feeling in my gut that he's going to be really good. So those are the players that I pulled for my video. So hopefully that answers your question. But I didn't really want to put a Liverpool player in there because I'm not really impressed by what they've done. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, Woltemade is a beast. Wiston and Newcastle will bang. Yeah, he's going to do so well for them because what they were doing to Liverpool showed exactly what I wish we could do, which was, kind of attack with 3 or 4 players and attack at pace and break down teams and just do simple things like get it out wide, beat your man, and then put a low cross in and try to get on the ends of it. We just don't have the ability to do that, so I like that. Um, I think St. James is gonna be tough. I think the Isak conversation went on long enough that, I think people thought that Newcastle were gonna be shit all of a sudden, and they've struggled obviously in the absence of Isak, but as things, you know, calm down and the window closes, I think bringing in Wissa and Wout Made and having Alenga on one side and Gordon on the other, it's long. It's long, especially at St. James where nobody can hear you scream, and they have the types of players that will not die. It's long. It's long. I'm dreading us going there. Berta's next job should be sacking Mikel. Ekatike is the only one I underestimated thus far. I thought he's weaker physically, but he's decent. Simmons for Tottenham, I couldn't give two shits about that. It's just not, to me, one of the more interesting signings. I think Kudus is a more interesting signing for them, funnily enough, but if Simmons does well for them, then fair enough. Colo is going to replace Brennan Johnson. I'm convinced Pep signed some players just to prevent his opponent from getting them. Thank God we didn't let them sign Rice. The league would have been cooked. Let's see. Eze is far better transfer than Wirtz because I think he's at least going at least as good right now at half the price, no brainer. Grealish is giving new life to Everton. That number 5 is cursed. They should have had that number. Shouldn't have given out that number for a while. Pep has a history of killing beautiful players. Grealish to Everton was awesome for him. I'm jealous of Isak, not gonna lie. Favorite center forward on the market since Kane. I'm just glad it's over. I have to be honest. I think all the pining for Isak and stuff, it was like kind of like it was giving almost like desperation and like take a hint. He never even gave us a second look. And I think he wanted to go somewhere. I think he wanted to go somewhere where it was certain that they would win. Because I mean, Liverpool won without him. So he doesn't really he's not going to do anything for them that they couldn't have already done. Um, You know what I mean? So I think that he wanted to go somewhere where it was already certain that they would win. And he went to Liverpool. If you come to Arsenal, you have to be the reason why we're going to win. And that's why, Gyökeres's attitude was more attractive to me than what Isak is, because Isak wanted to go somewhere where they were already winning, I think. So it was guaranteed that he would win things, but Gyökeres wants to be the reason why, which is why it's really frustrating to see Arteta kind of struggle already. Uh, um, that's why I think it's kind of difficult to watch Arteta struggle to get this player going in a way. Arteta has about 10 games, I feel like, to get Gyökeres going before he starts getting really called a flop. And so we've been 3 games in. So yeah, I'll always back my striker. Don't care about Isak. Liverpool have overspent on their attack. That defense is looking suspect. Not getting Gahey done is going to haunt them. I don't know if it is. Again, like I said, Keenan earlier, is that what other defense is going to stop that attack from scoring 4 goals? They scored 4 goals in the first game and they scored 3 goals in the second game, even though they conceded 2 or 2 in each one of those games. We're the only defense that I think can stop them. I genuinely do not think that any other defense is going to be able to stop them from scoring 3 or 4 goals. So I don't really, and as much as people want to act like he's washed, he's not. Van Dijk is still fantastic. So I get it that it may come back to haunt them, but they just have the ability to they have Soboslai back there and he's locked up Harvey Barnes and Martinelli. Now, that's not that hard, but it is what it is. We stop them, but can anybody else stop them? I don't know. every Geordie will be rooting for us to beat Liverpool in the league, which will be weird for me. Palace can hold them. For Gyökeres is not going to be a success unless Arteta changes tactics. I just can't see it. It's tough. This is kind of what I think. Remember when I said that, we were talking about the difference between Sesko and Gyökeres. One of the things that I was saying is that as much as I like Gyökeres, I love Gyökeres down. My biggest fear with him is that he's not plug and play. And I said this like probably a million times, and some of you guys said it too, is my fear is that Arteta will not change his tactics to suit him and he'll struggle. Early signs say that, maybe it's not going to, not early signs say that it still needs a lot of work. I'll say that, so it sucks because I feel like you take the excitement away from a signing when it already looks like there's teething problems with that signing. So with Gyökeres right now, unless he creates it by himself, it's not happening, right? So with Sesko, it felt more like a plug and play where you can kick it up to him, he can hold it up and link play. And one of the bigger things about him is that you can hoof it into the box and he can get his head on it. So, but it was always the case that Sesko was raw. And I think Arteta was okay with having Sesko because he thought he would have Havertz. Now, think about that scenario for a second, that if we had Sesko right now and Havertz was injured, how weird that would be. But it's almost like the same because Arteta can't get Gyökeres going, especially against these better sides. I'm afraid that he's going to struggle against City and also struggle against Newcastle. So, it's a tough one right now with the Gyökeres situation. 10 games is enough, I think, for Arteta to start getting a grip on getting this team passing the ball to him in a way that sets him up to score goals. So, yeah, in this era, people would have called on Rhea flop after 3 games. To be fair, Haaland struggles versus Virgil van Dijk. And so, yeah, he does. And I thought Gyökeres would struggle yesterday, but he had that one chance to where he had finally got away from Konate just enough that if Martinelli had lifted up his head, he could have put the ball in a space where he could have gotten it. And he didn't do that. And so where you're trying to make it on Gyökeres, it's up to the manager to set up his team where the players are setting up their striker. And so as much as I know Hold That in particular is always backing Mikel, if all of your attackers outside of Saka do not perform to a high level consistently or fallen off a lot or are just not good enough because they're just not good enough players, that ultimately all of the 3 of those scenarios come down to the manager anyway. Arteta went for Gyökeres after Sesko fell through. And so even if Gyökeres is not good enough, that's still on Mikel, so ultimately, like, some things are just Arteta's fault, and the attack not being able to be fluid, create clear-cut chances, no matter who's out there, struggling to break down low blocks, not having enough, not having enough X factor or enough juice or enough anything for in big games. That's all on Arteta. Sorry. It's just too much. It's too much placing the blame on the individuals, because if we've had these same issues almost consistently the entire time that Mikel has been here, remember, he's been here for 5 years, and we've only had 1.5 seasons where we didn't have questions about the attack. 1.5 out of 5 seasons. but he's had many different attackers. He's had Lacazette and Aubameyang and Pepe. He's had Willian. He's had Saka. He's had Emile Smith-Rowe. He's had Martinelli. He's had Gyökeres now. He has Eze now. He has Madueke. He had, Kai Havertz. He had Trossard. He had Jesus. He's had so many different attackers, but for one reason or another, there's always questions outside of one full season and a half a season in 23-24 where it's like, damn, we just don't create chances. We have the horseshoe of death. We can't access central spaces. So at the end of the day, it comes down to Mikel. You can blame Gyökeres all you want after 3 games or whatever, but he struggled to get Aubameyang scoring goals before Aubameyang left. Lacazette went through the stinkiest goal drought under Mikel Arteta. Jesus went through a stinky goal drought under Mikel Arteta. Martinelli looks like a shit player now. When at some point do we look at it and say, maybe he's not platforming these attackers well enough? If we got Sesko, we would have been evolved. We wouldn't have evolved. We're still not evolving. That's the problem, is Gyökeres has to start an immediate evolution, and we're still kind of like, he seems unable to evolve while winning games as well. And so I see us like kind of fighting between trying to do the counterattack and trying to serve Gyökeres, and him trying to make Gyökeres into Havertz in certain games because he's afraid, which is what happened yesterday. Gyökeres' only non-penalty goal was against the championship side, in which he fashioned himself. It's on Arteta. The attackers, bar Saka, have looked worse under him. That can't be a coincidence. It can't be a coincidence. And this is why I'm like, I don't know why it's not a general opinion that even though Arteta is brilliant at, getting the defensive structure right, that he struggles with attack. At least one has seen Arsenal win the title through watching Premier League years. Gabby Jesus did well against Virgil van Dijk. The typical old school number 9 mostly struggles against him. He's really physical, have to be cute to do well against him. I kind of agree with that as well. I just think you need to have a different way of doing things. And I still don't even think Kai Havertz is the answer. But, some people, I've never seen somebody's stock and star rise so much when they're not playing. But when they're playing, it's like, ugh. Gyökeres did well. He put the ball on for others when we had a chance. He had 0 chances to do anything else. He didn't lose any balls. He was our 4th man, 5 out of 10. Calla and Mascara, 7 out of 10. Noni, 6. You guys calling him Mosquito now is so funny to me, but I get who you mean. I guess we have to replace the Kiwi with the Mosquito now, because we used to call Kiwi or Kiwi, But yeah, Nottingham Forest is a good game to see where we're at, because it's not Leeds and it's not Liverpool away. So this will be Oliver Glasner's last season at Crystal Palace. Any contract signed will have a release clause. This contract, if signed, will be for PR marketing reasons only. The manager is very ambitious and is eyeing up a particular job in the Premier League, which is probably Manchester United. I wish it was us. Sorry. I know. Glasner, I like Glasner because he said, fuck you, you need to keep my best defender because you guys are fucking around, man. Crazy. I was impressed by Mascara when Saliba went down. I was like, oh no, it's over. The Kiwi wasn't ripe. Bruised Kiwi, you guys are mean. Glasner is an effing winner, and it says it like it is. The way he sat up there in a press conference and said, no matter what you guys do, I know we'll beat you, or whatever he said about Manchester City, and then did it, that was cold. After the break, I expect injuries. Oh, damn, Mascara translate to mosquito net. I feel like, back to what Yo-Yo was saying about after the break, I expect injuries. If the first 3 games has not been an indicator of what the season is going to be like, then I don't know, because I think Arsenal fans are waiting for this magical season where everybody's just going to be fit every single game. But some of our key players have kind of been ran into the ground over the last 3-4 seasons, and so now they're unable to put together runs of games because they keep re-injuring major injuries that they had to have surgeries on. We have very injury-prone defenders as well. So it's more important for Arsenal to have a big and deep squad rather than hoping and praying that we'll get luck that we're not going to get. The first 2 seasons that we had major luck with injuries. People were saying that we had such bad luck with injuries because we lost Saliba. We did not have bad luck because we lost Saliba. Like, that was not an injury problem. We saw what real injury-ridden looks like, and that was this past season. So, and this season looks like it could be similar in terms of we're going to have injuries probably throughout. We've lost a major player in the last 2 games, 2, 3. Saka, Odegaard, Saliba, and we lost Kai before the season even started. And Norgard's been out the entire season already. Trossard has had problems as well, so there's probably never going to be a time where all of our players are going to be fit. So this magical time where everybody's fit and we have to wait for that to see any sort of good football is probably unrealistic. So we should probably expect it now. His interview is out. If this is true, I love Glasner so much. Oliver Glasner threatened to leave Crystal Palace tonight if Mark Gahey was sold. He will always have a fan in me. He's my new Thomas Frank, for sure. Like, I love somebody that says, "Nah, fuck that shit." I don't know why more managers don't threaten. Like, they need to threaten and say, "I'm walking tonight if you sell so and so." Tonight I'm out. Rip my shit up, because the way that they were doing Glasner, I was like, you guys are going to lose him. And I still think they will. But you guys are going to lose Glasner. He's a coach. He can coach a Champions League team. Not to be rude to Palace, but he's a really good manager that you'll struggle to replace with the same quality. So you need to do what he wants. Hello. He won you 2 trophies in 12 months. And you had to play against Liverpool and City in both. And he beat them. You guys went to Stamford Bridge and got a draw. You guys whooped the brakes off of Villa like 2 days ago without Eze. Give him what he wants. It's too late now in the window because the window's closed, but he could go. He could go to anywhere, really, outside of maybe like Barcelona, Real Madrid's and place like that. I'll tell you what we need. We need to have Saka, Eze, and Jesus fit and Gyökeres in front of them. I guarantee you that's Liverpool levels if only those 4 stay fit for colossal important matches. I know, but it's still waiting on these unlikely things to happen. For Saka and Jesus in particular to stay fit is going to be deeply unlikely. But yeah, we may get 1 or 2 games where we see Jesus and maybe Eze and Saka play together, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But I hear you, that if you put those 4 together, that's probably our 4 best attackers on the pitch at once. And sometimes I just want to see the best attackers playing together and not using defense as a reason to start players that are clearly not good. It's not the players, it's the shifty coach. Was surprised Glasner went to Palace in the first place. Glasner would reject United. No, he wouldn't. He'd go. Almost any manager in the world would take that job. They still have the fact that they could still, attract Mbeumo and Cunha in the state that they're in shows you just United still has a certain level of pull. So unless you are Zinedine Zidane, who I think has rejected them more than once now, you're going to go. You're going to go. What other job is Glasner looking at that's looking like a manager may be out of the job soon? He's waiting on Manchester United. I hope that they don't get him because That's like they get a second chance at getting Thomas Frank. And, we don't ever get that lucky where we fuck up and then there's another one that's a similar that's right there ready. Maybe we do have those chances, but yeah. I hope he goes to Leverkusen. That'd be the perfect job for him. Glasner will go to United next summer. That's what the job that I think he's waiting on. United isn't the same anymore. It isn't the same anymore, but they still have the pull. United are still a massive club. And if any other club had been like United over the last 10 years or so, they would not be able to pull two of the best players in the Premier League outside of the top 6 to them. They wouldn't have been able to do it. Mbeumo and Cunha come from lower mid-table sides. What caliber is that? They're just the best players outside of the big 6. Like, I don't, I still think them being able to pull those two players without any sort of anybody else being able to get into the conversation says quite a bit. No, United without, and it's also without Europe. So it's not like they're going from, a team that's outside of Europe to a team that's, inside Champions League. They're going to United with no Europe. No Europe. No Europe. No Europe. Like, you know what I mean? So they're going to United basically just because it's a big club. Not because they're playing in Europe, not because they'll be playing under, like a elite manager, none of that. They're going because it's United. Like we would not be able to pull Cunha and Mbeumo if we were in the same position. I think when we were in the same position, we were pulling Sambi Lokonga, for fuck's sake. Glad they were not bullied by Newcastle, bullied like Newcastle. Newcastle, I get it that they got the money at the end of the day, not what they said that they wanted, but they got a lot of money. But I do think that, they didn't necessarily stand on business the way that I was maybe hoping them to do. Like if that was Arsenal, I would be livid, but at the same time, they're in a different position, than we are. The fact that they could not pull some of the players that they tried to with Champions League just showed that they're not that, so it's different than Arsenal selling their best player to another team in Champions League. Newcastle definitely got shown that levels. You know what I mean? They got shown levels this window for sure. That they're still building and they're not there yet, because prestige and history and heritage and things like that weigh more than Saudi money at times. So yeah, I think they got shown levels and they did get bullied, because not only did Liverpool take your best player, but they took the one player that probably could have given you a similar level to Isak and are probably going to sit that player on the bench. So yeah, they got shown levels for sure. But that being said, I still think Newcastle is going to be a good team once things settle and their new signings get in, because the performance that they put up against Liverpool, if they applied half of that to most teams, they would do just fine. But you need the window to close and the noise to stop. For sure. 85 million for a nobody by Newcastle is crazy. Newcastle are going to be better off without Isak. Wilmare and Wissa are going to be a formidable strike force. God forbid they play those two together. Look at those players. We're talking quality. Arteta has to change his game plan. You have the best defenders in the league, but yet to come up with a defensive game plan, with an attacking game plan, I think, against Liverpool, you mean. All right, guys. We're looking at our window now. This window is closed. We bought 8 players. Give me a rating and give me a ranking of each player, or players from 1 to 8 of your favorite, like your favorite to your least favorite signing. And I would love to see also some reasons why, just some short reasons why. I know I'm asking for a lot, but because I'm going to give you guys mine now that the window is fully closed, and I can tell you which players are my most exciting players and which ones I'm still a little bit like about. So I would love to see that in the comments section for sure. But This window for me, now that the window is fully closed, I think that this window for me is a 9. I think the only thing that could have made it better is if we had moved Martinelli on and brought in an actual left wing. I still think that player needs to come in. I still think that's something that's going to happen within the next, you know, let's say 12 to 18 months. I don't think that I don't think Martinelli will survive another summer. We'll have to cut our losses, especially because the walls are closing in on him quickly, so yeah, I think the only thing that could have made it better is a left winger, like a true left winger. But the signing of Eze was so big that it took the window for me from a 6.5. Without Eze, it was a 6.5. It was like a 6.5. With Eze, it was a 9. That's how big of a signing it was. I actually don't think there was any signing that we made that was more pivotal to what we need than Eze. Because there's a world where you could play with Havertz, Eze, and Saka that's better than playing with Saka, Gyökeres, and Nelly. So, yeah, I think this window is a 9. Now, in terms of which signings I think were the best and ones that I'm a little bit more meh about, I would say I'm going to go from least to the best. I think I don't care about Kepa. Kepa is at the bottom. Kepa, bottom, least favorite, but not because I think anything of you. It's because I don't think of you. So Kepa, bottom, Norgard, Kepa, Norgard, Madueke, Hincapie, Gyökeres, Mascara, Zubi, Eze. Right? I'll write it down. I'll put it in a comment. Or I'll put it on a banner because I think I forgot someone. So from best signing to maybe ones I'm like less excited about. These nails are killing me. I can't type. It's dark. I am so surprised at how excited I am about Mascara, but I can't help it. He's like an instant favorite for me. He's definitely on the client list for this season. It's harsh on Noni, but I still just feel like we could have done better. But whatever. I don't really feel bad. If you have a problem with it, you can argue with the wall. Regard and Kepa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think Noni and Hincapie actually could be swapped. They're like joint 6, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'm going to do joint 6 because I think that's a little harsh on Noni. He's not really 7, to be honest. So, all right, that. So, yeah, that's it from best to maybe not as my favorites. As a first, Zubi, Mascara, Gyökeres, Hincapie, and Noni, because they're like they're more joint than not. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they're more joint on the same level than and then Norgard and Kepa are like way like more down. But yeah. Let's see. Best to last as a Zubi, Mascara, Gyökeres, Madueke, Hincapie, Norgard, Kepa, exactly the same as me. Hincapie will probably end up being our best signing. Let's see. Mascara for 15 million is scandalous from Berta. It's such a good signing. Eze, Glock, Zubi, Mascara, Madueke, Hincapie, Norgard, and Kepa. 9. out of 10. Eze, creative juggernaut. Mascara, insane quality for 13 million. Hincapie takes the defensive depth up levels. Gyökeres, solid striker for low fee. Zubamendi, solid. Madueke, high ceiling. I ran out of room. Mascara is the undisputed number one because no one really thought he would come good. But he can genuinely be the closest thing to Saliba. I won't say that nobody thought he would come good, but I think maybe we were pleasantly surprised at his level because I think most of us were excited about the signing. Like we thought he was good. I just don't think we knew as good as he would be as good as we thought. Going to Anfield and putting in that performance, you know. Let's see. Why didn't we go for Guéhi instead of Hincapie and use the money saved on another forward? Well, I mean, if we had bought Guéhi, we would have actually had to put the money up front. And the buy option, well, Guéhi was going for 34 million and Hincapie was going for 45 million. So essentially we paid 10 million more, but we're not even obligated to pay it. But if we do, and when we do, it'll be on a different, accounting year, where if we had bought Guéhi, we would have had to do it right now. So I think the logistics of it actually mean that if there was either one of them, if we had to choose between the two of them in order to open up space and money for a winger this window, it actually would have been Hincapie because we didn't have to pay the money up front. We haven't had to pay anything up front. It's a loan with an option that will most likely become an obligation, but in a different accounting year. Guéhi, we would have needed to pay probably quite a bit up front because obviously Crystal Palace need to reinvest that money. So Guéhi would have definitely shut the door on anything else coming in. So yeah. And also Guéhi doesn't solve our left back issue. We bought a left back in because we needed a left back. We didn't need Guéhi. We have right backs. We have right center backs. So he doesn't solve anything for us. As a 10 out of 10, if Arteta will use him well. Gyökeres 9 out of 10 if you change the game to feed him. Zubi 7 out of 10, easy to get targeted. Norgard and Kepa 3 out of 10. I won't tolerate Madueke slander going forward. 9 out of 10 window, as a 9 out of 10. Gyökeres 9 out of 10. Zubi 8 out of 10. Mascara 8 out of 10. Madueke 7 out of 10. Norgard 7 out of 10. Hincapie 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think most of us think this window was really good. Like, I think ultimately, like, people are so used to Arsenal fans being upset about the window that they're like, how don't you you don't like the window? You guys are still complaining. I don't think anybody's complaining about the window. I think now we're concerned about whether or not the players are going to be used properly. I didn't wake up this morning and say, well, fuck, they need to go get someone now because we lost to Liverpool. My concern is now, how are we going to get this attack going? I don't have any problems with the defense. Our defense is fantastic. We've given up one goal, and the goal that we gave up was a goal that will never be scored again. Unfortunately, that goal is going to be a part of the Premier League best goals ever scored catalog, but at least if you concede, you want to concede goals that are once in a lifetime worldies, right? So our defense is not the problem. It's still our attack. Our attack still has questions, and it's not about depth or quality. It's about how they're being coached. A couple more minutes. I'm glad Zenny stayed. I'm sure you are. Jess, out of all of these signings, which ones do you think will be a flop? None, actually. I feel like the one that has the most chances of being a flop is probably Gyökeres. And the reason why I say that is because it all depends on Arteta changing their system. The system has to be changed so much that Arteta would have to succumb to it. And for somebody that's very rigid and hard-headed, I think that's going to be really difficult, because you saw instantly that because he didn't have Kai Havertz yesterday, he didn't change the game plan to Gyökeres. He made Gyökeres change into Havertz yesterday. It was a bunch of knockbacks and, trying to hold up the ball, win fouls, and basically just be almost like a presser and nothing more. We didn't try to play on the counterattack. We didn't try to hit him into the channels early like we had seen trying to do against Manchester United and Bilbao. And so that's kind of the issue that we're going to have now is When Arteta gets into big games, he's going to be scared. So he's going to go back into let's play with a facilitator center forward that's more just there to defend. And that's not Gyökeres's game. So, yeah, I think Gyökeres probably has the biggest chance of being a flop. But let's say Gyökeres flops and we sell him in a couple like in a year, wherever he goes, he'll instantly start scoring goals because he is a goal scorer. It's just if you use him properly, he's probably never been in a situation in his life where he didn't even get shots. Our squad is very good to win the league, but the team is in the wrong hands. Overall window 7.5. Think we needed a natural left wing. We don't have one yet. I know this is probably wishful thinking, but Arteta should rest Saliba and Big Gabby more. Mascara is excellent cover for Saliba, and Hincapie can cover for Gabby. We need to see more rotation of the center backs to save Saliba and Gabriel for the bigger games. Like when we play Port Vale in the Carabao Cup, I don't want to see Saliba or Gabriel. We shouldn't see Saliba or Gabriel, or we failed. Remember when Arteta was playing like Saliba and Gabriel and Rice against PSV? That was a dead rubber. He needs to stop that. Like that was just, I don't know if it was ego or what it was. And we have to keep up the levels. We still fucking drew. You know, we could have lost that game. It was a dead rubber. You know what I mean? There's no reason. Mark he had completed his exit video. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, we don't need that. We just need to rest some of our players. There was no jeopardy in that game because it was quite literally a dead rubber. Like nothing would have changed if we had win, lost, or drawn that game against PSV. And he played Rice and Saliba and Gabriel in that game. And I was just like, I don't know what is up with him, but he just cannot seem to get a grip. Gyökeres even got booked yesterday tackling Virgil van Dijk close to our box. Arteta had our striker playing like a DM. I don't want to see Gyökeres against Port Vale, Havertz, Marino, Jesus, whoever a striker, not Gyökeres. You people don't rate Gyökeres as high because he moves like a fridge and didn't score two and three and didn't score in 2 out of 3 games. I rate him because he is yet to miss a chance. The man strikes the ball in the open side of the net. Goat. I mean, I do rate Gyökeres. But you know, he's not getting chances, and that's not because of him. It's because of the way that we play. So yeah, I do rate Gyökeres. I think he's really good. I just think there's a big chance of him failing only because of the way that we use him, not because of his quality. I think Gyökeres has pinned Arteta, to be honest. When he got rid of the likes of Abba and Laka, we were convinced that that was more down to the players in the system. Gyökeres failing would be manager failing. Exactly. There's no reason for Arteta to doubt any of his defenders now. They are all good. However, he has every reason to doubt the midfield. So 8 players in. Yep, 8 players in. The guy brought Saka in against Oldham or some shit like that. Exactly. Like he needs to just stop the bullshit. I expect Gyökeres to trim down and weight very soon. He will adapt and become a machine. Yeah, he just needs to get fully fit and then get fed the ball, you know? As a Mascara, Gyökeres, Subi, Hincapie, Madueke, Norgard, and Kepa. I think we're all kind of like the same, where we have like Eze is number 1, and then Mascara is like freakishly high on the list, either second or third. Then it's like Gyökeres, Subi, Hincapie, Madueke, and then Norgard and Kepa. I think we're all kind of in the same category. Nobody has Norgard at third. Nobody Kepa second. No takers. Okay. The striker needs to adapt to us as much as we need to adapt to him. He's trying to. He's pressing and doing all that kind of stuff and doing a lot of knockdowns and shit. But I think Gyökeres has done more of a job to actually adapt to us than we've done for him. Again, he's not had a single player set him up with a clear-cut chance. but he set up Timber yesterday. He set up Calafiore twice already. He set up Calafiore in the not in the Manchester United game, but he set him up in the Bilbao game in preseason. He set him up yesterday as well, where Calafiore got a shot off. So I think he's actually adapted to our game more than we've adapted to him. Norgard, nice bloke. I have no other comment. Don't understand that signing. Yes, it was Leeds. So when you watch Gyökeres, people have said that they feel like his link-up play is so much better than they thought, and that's because he's actually attempting to do the link-up play because that's required. He's doing the link-up play. He's running around and pressing. He's trying to win the ball back. What part of him he is, I think ultimately hold that. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to place blame on Gyökeres or try to shift it over to him, but he has tried to adapt to us. But nobody has created a single chance for him yet. The Arteta ruined Odegaard and Martinelli. Now Gyökeres' turn. I'm gutted. Is Ancelotti available? Noni, Norgard, and Kepa are definitely bottom. So, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, really. But listen, you guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. This was like way longer than it was supposed to be, but it always is. But transfer window's over, which I'm actually really happy about because we actually got everything done, and it felt so long this time because we didn't have like a European, any sort of games or anything. So it felt like forever, genuinely. And we went through a roller coaster, genuinely, from nothing where everybody was like, what are we doing? We're not doing anything. Because remember, Liverpool was already signing players, and City were already signing players, and Chelsea were already signing players. And then it took us like 2 weeks after that to start moving, and then we thought we were getting Sesko, and then we had to go through the Sporting and Gyökeres situation. Then, we went through the Noni thing where it was like, say no to Noni. That was peak. Then went through nothingness, and everybody was just like, oh, the window's over. And then all of a sudden we got Eze, and then Hincapie. It's been a fucking roller coaster. So we've gone through a lot, and I'm so glad this window is shut and we can move on. I don't want to hear about January. I don't want to hear about nothing, So yeah, but like a new signing, Jesus, in like a couple of weeks. We also got Max Dowman as basically a new signing as well. So yeah, but make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel on your way out. We will definitely chit chat again soon. I had a death in the family, so I will be out of town on Thursday, and I'll come back on Sunday. So there probably won't be any streams then, but we don't have a game. So, it should be fine. But yeah, make sure you guys hold on. Oh, fuck. It's just a loan. It's just a loan. It's just a loan. I'll show it to you guys, but it's just a loan. Damn it. They're like cockroaches, man. They just don't go ever. They don't ever go, man. Ugh. It's just nuts, man. Nottingham Forest working to sign Alexander Zinchenko from Arsenal before the window shuts. Nottingham Forest agreed loan deal with Arsenal for personal terms in place for the 28-year-old. Deal sheet submitted after Gallon move collapsed in attempting to complete. This is so funny because this is going to be another Edu, like dead of night, doing the video talking about we weren't planning to sign him, but it just happened this way. This is Edo written all over it, but it's just a loan. It's just pushing things along with like the same thing with Nelson and these guys, but hopefully he gets to somebody else is paying his wage, just go, it's fine. But like Ash says, we're for free for a year. But listen, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on the way out, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys. Thank you for the condolences as well. Thank you. I really appreciate it.